Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel guys. So in this tutorial actually marks the beginning of a new series in Django. So in this series we're going to be building an inventory management system using Django and Plotly, and I'll be able to visualize the graph and other stuff like that. So this inventory system can be for a small grocery store or just a small business just like that. So let me just log out and show you what the whole functionality of the application. So I'm just going to go click on logout, and it's going to log me out, and I'm going to click on, it tells me you have been logged out, and I'm going to click on login again. So I'm going to provide my name, and I'm going to provide in my password, which is just admin 12345, and I'm going to log in into the system. So now that I'm logged in, I see this initially. So this shows the different stocks that are in that we have in the store or the little business that you're running. So you can see the different, we have shoes, jackets, sneakers, and t-shirts. So all of these are clickable. So you can even add new products, or you can, if you add a new product, you need to appear. So let's go ahead and actually click on add inventory. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to call this I'm going to just call it a shirt. I'm going to add a shirt, and then the cost per item, let's say the each shirt costs 300, and then quantity in stock, maybe you have 100 in stock, and you have managed to sell 50 so far. So you have managed to sell 50. So we're just going to click on submit, and it's going to add that product to the inventory, and you can see it appears right here. So this is just an alert, and it will disappear after some seconds. So we can see we have a fifth product here, and it's the shirt that you have just added, and it also calculates for us the sales that you have got from this shirt, because each shirt is a quantity sold. You have sold 50, and each is a 300. So it's going to multiply this by this, and it's going to now generate for us the sales. So you can see even that the stock date has been on 31st, and then the last sales date has been on this specific date. So it adds for us all of that into our inventory management system. So if you can even visualize this data, so if I click on dashboard, so if I click on dashboard and I go to dashboard, I can see the graph showing the different so you can see the sales trend from yesterday until today. So I've only added data between yesterday and today. So you can, even if I go back to the inventory, if I click on this, you can see I have only 31st and 30th. That's why I'm only getting this straight line. So but if you ask many days, then it will show the trend and this wiggly kind of line over the time. So I have only added only two days of data. That's why I have this kind of straight line. So this it can show you the different sales as time progresses, as the date progresses, and stuff like that. So you can see even the best performing product. So you can see the best performing product is t-shirt, and we have sold over 300 t-shirts, and then we have shoes, we have sold 201, and then we have t-shirt which we have sold 50, jackets, and then sneakers which we have sold the list of 20. So you can see all that graph is being visualized by using we're going to use a Plotly to visualize this data. So you can see all of this is stored in a database, and you're retrieving the data. So if you see most product in stock, we have shoes is the most in stock, and then we have all of this other data. So you can see all of this is interactive. We can actually download this graph and stuff like that. So you can see product performance by sales. So you can see the best performing product by sales is t-shirts, and we can see we have sold that amount of t-shirts. So you can even click on this, and then you can be able to hide some certain fields. So you can see we have sold this amount of t-shirt. We can decide to hide the sneakers, and it's going to be hidden and stuff like that. So these graphs are actually interactive. You can zoom in. So if I come back here, I can just select this, and I can zoom in on that specific plot. I can restore it and stuff like that. I can also download this graph. So if I click on this part over here, it's going to download the graph. So if I click on this, it's going to download that image for us. So you can download the image, and then you can use the image for something. So maybe I just go ahead and actually open this image. It's going to open it up, and you can see the actual image of this graph. Instead of maybe you want to send it to someone, or you want to use it in an email or something like that, you can download the images, and you can share it with your clients and other people who work with your business. So that's what you're going to do. So the user can also be able to if he has a product, if I go back here, you can click on a product, and it's going to take you to this page where you can see detailed information about the product. So it's the shoes, and then the quantity in stock is 101, and then quantity sold, we have sold 201, and then the cost per shoe is 200, and then the sales or revenue that you have made is 40,200, and then the stock date was on 30th of October 2021, and then the last sales date was on today, which was 31st of October 2021. You can also update update this. Maybe I want to change, maybe I've sold another one, so I'm going to put here 2, and I can click on update. If I update it, you can see we have this right here. It has been updated and it has reflected right here. So you can also go ahead and actually, if you want to delete a product, you can just click on delete and it's going to be deleted. Now you cannot see shoes here. If I go back to my graphs, then my graph should also reflect that change in the data. So you can see the graphs have reflected that change in data. So that's basically what you're going to be building, and you're going to be using Django framework for this. So let's for this tutorial, let's go ahead and actually set a virtual environment and install all the libraries that you're going to need, and then we'll just build a simple Django project, and then the next tutorial will be actually begin to code. So I'm just going to open up my terminal. This is where the project is running from, so I'm going to terminate that for now, and then I clear my terminal. So I'm going to go in here, and in here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call mkdraw, and I'm going to call it Django, and I'm going to call it inventory management system. So IMS, I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to change directory into Django inventory management system, and I'm in here. The folder is completely empty. So let me just deactivate my Conda environment. So if you don't have Conda installed, then don't worry. If you want to know that you have Conda installed, then you have this in front of your terminal. So don't worry if you don't have Conda installed, just skip this step for now. Just avoid this command of Conda deactivate. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to create a virtual environment. Now, for create a virtual environment, it depends on the operating system that you are on. So you can go to the Python official documentation, and then you can read on how to create a virtual environment. So if you're on Linux and MacBook, this is how you create a virtual environment. If you're on Windows, this is how you create a virtual environment. You can go to the official Python documentation and read more about this. So I'm going to go ahead and actually create a virtual environment. So I'm going to go Python 3 and then -m and then venv. I'm going to call my virtual environment venv. So I'm going to press enter, and this is going to go ahead and actually create for me a Python virtual environment. So after the Python virtual environment is created, you can just run ls command, and you can see that from the venv which is the name of the virtual environment. So we can go ahead and activate this. Just say source venv/bin/bin/activate, and this is going to activate the virtual environment. So let me just get the spelling right, and you can see the virtual environment is activated, and you can see the name of the virtual environment within parentheses in front of the line within our terminal. So that shows our virtual environment is activated. So let's go ahead and actually install Django. So I'm going to go into the Django official documentation, and this is the command for installing Django. So just copy this, just say Python 3 and then venv, and then I'm going to paste this right here. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to change this to be Python 3. If you're using, if you have just say Python 3 from Windows, this is Python. So Python 3 -m pip install Django. So it's going to install the Django framework for us. So once this is done, we need to create a Django app, and this is if you go to the official documentation for Django, this is the command to creating a Django simple Django application. So what we need to do is say Django-admin and then start project and the name of that project. Okay, so that's the command we're going to run next. So let's let me just bring back this. So bring back this and doing this. So you can see now it's installing Django, and Django has been successfully installed. So I'm going to clear my terminal, and I'm going to run that command Python 3 it's going to be Django-admin and then start project. So this is project, and then the name of the project, I'm going to call it inventory system, just like that, and I'm going to press enter. This is going to go ahead and actually create a Django project called inventory system. So if I do an ls, you can see that project there. So I'm going to change directory into inventory system, and you can just see that project right there. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and actually run the simple server to run the Django application to make sure that everything is set up. So I'm going to go with Python 3 manage.py and then run server. It's going to run our development server, and if you go to localhost at port 3000, just ignore this error for now. If you go to localhost at port 3000, so I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to localhost at port 8000, and then if you just press enter, it will return to you the simple Django installation success. Congratulations. So that's how you simply install a Django in the Django framework and set up your Django application. So now that you have this set up, in the next tutorial we're going to go ahead and actually continue building our project. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one. Keep safe. Hello guys, welcome back to the second tutorial in this series. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and actually create our models, our database, and then we'll be able to insert data into the database. So first of all, before we get started, I'm going to take you to the admin page, and then we can see what you have done so far, so you can have an exposure to the admin page in Django. So I'm actually in my project folder right now. So if I do an ls, you can see I have my project folder there. If you're on Windows, that would be dir, okay, to view the content of a folder. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to activate my virtual environment. And to activate my virtual environment in Linux or MacBook, this is how you do it. But if you're using Linux, again, go back to the official, if you're using Windows, rather, go back to the official documentation to check how to activate your virtual environment if you're using Windows. But if you're on Linux and MacBook, feel free to follow along. So we just type source vnv, which is the name of this folder right here, and then /bin/activate. So if you just run that command, it's going to activate our virtual environment, and you can notice that by the name of the virtual environment folder being in parentheses in front of the line within our terminal. So I'm going to just change into my inventory system, and then I'm in my inventory system. So if I do python 3 manage.py, and then I do run server like we did last time, run server, this is going to start the development server on my localhost at port 8000. So let's wait for this to start. It's going to start the development server running at localhost at port 8000. Now you can see we're getting this weird warning over here about all this. Just in a moment we'll fix all this. So just go back to your browser and then go to localhost at port 8000 and then press enter, and then this will take you to this page, right? This is what we left from last time. Okay, so what's this error and how do we fix it? So I'm going to stop my development server by pressing Ctrl and C, which means cancel. And now that I've canceled that, I'm going to now run a command to run our virtual environment to start our server to create our database. The reason we're getting this error is that we haven't run migrations in our database. So you can read this, and it tells you that you need to run this command in order to apply those migrations. So we have not applied some migrations. So let's close this again, and then you have to simply type in python and then manage.py and then manage.py and then migrate. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So this python 3 and then manage.py. If you're on Windows, it's just python and then manage.py, and then we're going to say migrate. So we're going to migrate the server, migrate our changes. So it's going to create all this running this command. It's going to create all these databases in our system. So now that we have done that, this created the default database that we can use to add a user, create users and stuff like that. And then so now that you have done that, I'm just going to just go ahead and actually run my server, run my development server, and you can see that error is now gone. So I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to show you something. So in here, just localhost at port 8000/admin, you can just type that into your browser, and this is going to tell you to log in. Now it's asking for a username and a password. Now we haven't created a user and you don't have a certain password, so what do you type in here to get access to the admin page? So great. So now what we need to do right now is to come back to the terminal, and now we need to create a super user. A super user, you can think of it like the admin of that specific website or web application. So I'm going to again stop the server running and clear my terminal and type in the following. So I'm going to type in python 3 manage.py, and then I'm going to go create super user. So I'm going to go ahead and create a super user, and I'm going to leave the space there to be prints, and then the email I'm just going to skip. The password is just going to be admin 1 2 3 4 and 5, and repeat that again, admin 1 2 3 4 and 5, and then press enter, and that has already created for us the super user. So now we need to now go ahead and actually start our server again. So manage.py, and I'm going to run server just like this. This is going to start my development server running on localhost at port 8000. So go back to my browser, and now that's the credentials that I used to create the user is the credentials that I use here to log in. So I'm going to print and then the admin 1 2 3 4 and 5, and then I can go ahead and actually click on login, and this is going to log me into the admin page. This is the admin page if you log into a Django app project. So you can see we have these two tables here for authentication and authorization. We have this table, two tables, users and then the groups. Just click on the users table, and then if I click on the users table, you can see this is the users table. You can go ahead and actually click add a new user, and these are the information that you need to add. You just fill this form and then you click on save to add a new user. So that's the users admin table. So now how do we create our own databases here and then make them show up here, so we can be able to add data, in this case will be products or inventory, just like that we need to do instead, just like that we can do for users. So to do that is very simple. So what we need to do, first of all, we need to create a Django app. So Django project itself it just gives you a platform for you to create settings and other stuff. Now you need to create a Django application, a Django app within your Django project. Now that Django app is used to help you to break your project down into different sections, to have modularity in your code and to be easier to manage your application or your project. So instead of our project folder where we have the migrate file and migrate.py file, what you're going to do, we're going to now create in a project now, Django app. We're going to create now a Django application instead of our Django project rather. So what you're going to do, you're just going to simply type in Python 3 and then manage.py, and then you're going to say start app, and then you're providing the name of the app. I'm going to call it inventory since you're going to use this to manage our inventories. In the future you can create other apps in case you want to scale this project to a bigger thing. You can create other apps and use them for other reasons. So in this case I'm going to create an app called inventory, and this is going to be a Django app. So you just press enter and this will go ahead and create for you the app. So if you do an ls, if you're on Windows you do a dir, you can see we have now a folder here called inventory, which is the name that you have specified here, right? So now our project is now created. So now let's go into our project and register our project inside of our register our app inside of our project. So now let's go. I'm going to go ahead and actually open Visual Studio Code, and when Visual Studio Code opens up, you're going to go into inventory system, and in there you're going to find a file called settings, and in settings you need to register our app. So what you simply do is very simple. So now we'll just wait for that to open up, for Visual Studio Code to open up. So now we'll go into the project, go into inventory system, and inventory system will go under apps, and in under apps now that's where we register our project. So go to inventory system here, and then go under settings, and then under settings that's where we register our applications, our other Django applications that you have created. So in here I'm going to keep one application, and this is just going to be a simple Django application. So what you're going to type in here, you're going to say inventory apps you're going to say, now if you go to inventory, let me just show you why I'm typing these things here. So inventory is the name of our app folder. So inventory, inside of there we have another file called apps. So saying inventory.apps, go inside of this folder. Now we're looking for this, so just copy this, then go back to settings and then paste that right there. So now that you have pasted that right there, you are done. So we have now registered our Django app inside of our Django project. So that's how we register a Django app inside of our Django project. You set by the name of the folder of the app, and then .apps, which is this file here, and then you're referring to this this class right here. So that's how you register a Django app inside of your Django project. So now that you have our Django project registered, now let's go ahead and create a database that is going to show and then that you're going to use to store our inventories. So I'm going to click on models, and you see here is where you create our models, and our models is just going to be our database models. So we're not going to writing anything like SQL. In Django you can just write something known as the ORM. Django, or this ORM stands for Object Relational Mapper. So if you just write some Python code, that will get converted into a database that you can actually use. This means that you don't have to actually write a Django. So you don't have to actually write an SQL model on your own. So now let's go ahead and do that right here. So I'm going to create a class, and in this class you're going to have certain fields. So I'm going to create a class, and this class is going to be called inventory. So I'm going to inherit from models models.model. So just like that. So models.model is what you have been imported, and Django already imports that for you. So just going to see you just have to inherit from this class. We're going to say models.model. You're going to inherit from this. Now we're going to specify the field. You're going to have, each product is going to have a name. So we're going to say the name field, and it's going to be models.char field. So it's going to be a character field, and you need to specify the max length, and the max length can be anything. You can just say maybe 100. So the max length of the strings count must not be more than 100. So there must not be more than 100 strings that refer to a product name. Okay, so we have null, and you can say null is going to be false. It must not be empty. And then we have blank. Blank is for form purposes, and you're going to say it's going to be false. So what's the difference between blank and null? So null is for meaning the database, like SQL, you say null equals to false, and then blank stands for our when you're creating a form and you're going to create that in the future. That means that the form must not be empty, that this is required field when filling the form, and this is required for the databases. Okay, so now that we have that, you're going to now go to cost. I'm going to say cost underscore per underscore products. So it's going to be cost per item rather, and this is going to be models dot, this is going to be a decimal field, because the price can be in decimal, right? So we're going to have a decimal field. You're going to prepare the following. We're going to say max digits. So we're going to say max digit, you're going to put it to be 19. So what this allows us to do is going to be all the total number of digits that's from the decimal, right? So you can also specify the decimal place. So I'm going to say decimal place, so it's going to be decimal places, and I'm going to do decimal place to be 2, and I'm going to say now it's going to be now it's going to be false. This me get the spelling of right, false, right? And then I'm going to say blank. Let's say get the spelling. Blank is also going to be false. Okay, I've already explained to you what's the difference between null and blank, right? Okay, let me explain to you this part. So in our decimal field, we're going to have the capability to store 19 digits, 2 of which will be of decimal value. So we're going to, in this case, you're going to have the ability to store a billion. You're going to store a billion values, and then two of those can be of decimal places. Okay, so that's what that basically means. So now that we have done that, we can just go ahead and actually go to the other part. So we're going to have quantity. So this is quantity underscore in underscore stock. So quantity in stock is going to be storing the quantity of the model that is stock. So we're going to have models dot this is going to be an integer field. So there's going to be an integer field. An integer field is just going to store integer numbers, right? So we are not going to use decimal field right here, because number of product that is in stock, we don't have like 0.5 product, right? A product is either a 1 or a 0, not a decimal value, right? So it's either the full number or 0, so it can be decimal value. That's why we have to use integer. So we're going to say now it's going to be of type false, and we're going to say blank, and it's going to be of type again false. Okay, just for form and other things. Okay, so we're going to have also quantity underscore sold, and quantity sold is going to be models dot this is going to be an integer field again. So an integer field, you're going to have null. Null again is going to be false. Null is going to be false, and then you're going to say blank, and then blank is also going to be false. Okay, just like that. And then you're going to have sales, right? Each product is going to have some sales, right? How many things have been sold, and sales is going to be models dot, it's going to be a decimal field, right? Because it's going to be storing numbers. It's going to be storing money, right? Money can be in decimal. So we're going to repeat the same thing. We're going to have 19, and then decimal places. You're going to see decimal places is going to be 2, and you can fill it to set this to any amount you want. Now it's going to be false, and then you're going to say blank, and blank is also going to be false. Okay, just like that. Now that you have that, you can go ahead and actually still stock date. So when this thing was bought or something like that, when the product was entered into a database. So stock date is going to be models dot this is going to be date field, and this is going to be date field is going to just be I'm going to say auto add now, and I'm going to set that to be true. Okay, that will make sure that this auto add now, what it simply does is that whenever the product is added, that's when the date will be included within our records, and you can change the date afterwards. Means that whenever you are creating a product, the date when you are creating the product, that's the date that will be stored, and that will be permanent forever. Okay, so that's what we want. And then we're going to go going to say last underscore last sales sell date, like the last time we made a sale, and then it's going to be models dot date time field. So you're going to be a date field rather, and you're going to say auto now is going to be true, going to be set auto now to true. This auto now true, what it simply does is that whenever we save our record again, then this field will be updated. So whenever we added a new sales, then this field will be updated to store the last sales date. Okay, so that's all. So I'm going to have def here, and you're going to have this data method, and what this is simply going to do is just allow us to whenever we print our objects from this database, how it's going to look like. So whenever I print out an object from a database, what I want it to be returned, I just want to return the product's name. So I'm going to return self.name, and I'm going to show you this just in a second. So now that we have done that, our models have been created. That's all we need to create our model. Now for us to be this has actually created our model, and for us to create our model, I'm going to run this following command. So I'm going to just reduce this a bit. So let me just reduce this a bit so that you guys can, so I hope this is big enough. So now that I have that, I'm just going to do an ls to know where I am. Now that I'm there, I'm going to now make migration for our database to be created. Now this, by writing this code, we have just described how our database will look, but you haven't actually built or created that database. So to build that, we have to type in the following. So you have to type in python 3 manage.py, and then you say make migrations. So just press enter, and it is going to now detect all the changes in our databases, and it's going to make those migrations. So you can see that's already created a model called inventory. So now we're going to run our migration. So python manage.py, you can say migrate, so just like this, and it's going to now run our migrate, which actually creates the database now has run the full migrations. So now that we have that database created, good, we are good to go. So now let's go back to start our server again. So just type in python 3 manage.py and then say run server, and this is going to start our development server on our local host at port 8000. So now I can just go to the browser and then I can just refresh this. Okay, now that I have refreshed it, you see I can see that database right here. I only see users and groups database. So why is our database not here? Now that's a great question. The reason why the database doesn't appear there is that we haven't registered the database. So now you have to register the database in our admin page, and to do that you have to go to inventory folder, go to the file called admin.py, and in there you're going to now import our model here. So we're going to say from .models, you're going to import inventory. Okay, inventory. So let me just get that right. So we're going to import inventory right there. So now that you have imported inventory, you see Django even leaves a comment, register your models here. So we're going to now register our model so we can be able to see it in our admin page. So you have to say admin.site.register, and then you pass in your model. So this will be inventory, just like that. So that's how we register a model. So now that I've done that, we can now see our model in our database. So now let's check if our server is running. Yes, it is. Sometimes it stops and you have to restart your server again. So in this case it was running. Now you can see we have that inventory right here. So you can see, just click on that, and then we can go to add inventory, and I can simply add a new product here. So I'm going to add me a shoe, and I'm going to say the cost per item, maybe issue is 200, and the cost quantity in stock, maybe you have 50 in stock, let's say 50, and the quantity we have sold maybe 10 shoes already, and then the sales, it will be we can just this sales value will be actually calculated for us, but we can also input this. I'll show you how to do this later on. So you can just maybe say 10 clothes, right? We have seen 10 shoes, and each shoe is 200. So just put here 2000, right? So just be 2000, just like that. If my math is correct, right? Because it's 10, and 10 times 2, and 200 is just 2000. So you can just click on save, and this is going to save our record. So you can see now we have shoe here. So if I click on shoe, I can see all that record. I can delete it, and I can also update this record. So if I go back, I can just click on save, and I can see we have shoes here. Now why do we have shoe here? And the reason we have shoe here is because whenever we are developing our model, we say self.name, right? So this data, whatever you put in here is whatever will be displayed here. Okay, so if you just put in, maybe you just want to add in something else, then you can add in, and then that thing is what will be reflected here. So you can just maybe I add in maybe just hello something. This, and if I save that, and if I go back here, I'll check our server is running. So I can go back here and then try to refresh. This is not, you can see right here we have shoe and then hello, right? So whatever I put in the underscore self underscore str we call this data method. So whatever I put in here is what will be shown right here. Let me just go ahead and save this. It is whatever will be shown right here. So in this case I just want the product's name, that's why I've kept self.name. So that's how you create a database, and how you again have access to the database admin page. So in the next tutorial we'll go ahead and actually begin to build our own application, so we can create our own custom form, so the users can be able to add products without having necessarily to go to the admin page and other stuff like that. So guys, thanks for watching. So in this tutorial we're going to go ahead and learn about template and template inheritance in Django. So I'm actually in my project right now. So if I do an ls, I'm in my project directory. If I do an ls, you can see I have that project directory right there. So let's go ahead and activate the virtual environment, and to do so you just have to say source and then /activate, and this is going to activate our virtual environment for us. So I'm going to clear the terminal, and I'm going to open up my Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to type in a code and then press enter. In your case, you can just go ahead and open up your favorite text editor, and that will work for you. Okay, so let's just wait for this to open. So now that the Visual Studio Code has already opened up, we can go to our project directory, which is inventory system. We just click on it, and then you can see here we have these two apps installed here. So first of all, what we want to do is that we want to go into inventory system, and what we want to do in there, we want to go into the settings file. In the settings file, we need to set something so that our project we can set at our project templates. Okay, so just click on settings, and this will bring you to the setting page. And if that's done, you have to scroll down until you see the section written template. So it is part right here. So what you want to do is that you have to go into, it's a dictionary, right? A list of a dictionary. So you have to go into a browse, and browse here, this is what you want to modify. So I want to pass in here a tuple. So I just pass in here a tuple. And what you want to do in here, we simply want to say that I want to say os dot path. Don't worry about OS, we import it just in a second. So path dot join, so we want to join, and then we want to pass in the base dar. So if you don't know what the base dar is, I will just explain to you just in a second. So base, this is base dar, and then you can we want to join base dar with templates, just like that. So we want to call it templates. So templates with an S. Okay, so now we want to import this. So what this is simply do is just going to specify the path to our templates directory. So template is going to be a template directory that you're going to create in the root of our project, and we're going to use that to store our template HTML files. So base dar is just the root directory of our project. So you're joining the base dar with a folder called templates that you're going to create just in a moment. So that's where our template folders can be found. Now in here we need to import OS because it's not imported. So I can just go here and then say import OS. So that's all we need to do. So you can see this is the base dar, and this returns to the root directory of our project, and you're just joining the root directory with a template called with a folder called templates. So let's go ahead and actually create that folder right here. So I'm just going to go in here, and then I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to call it templates, just like that, and press enter. So this is going to create for us our root template. Okay, great. Now that's done, let me just go into our template, and let's create a template called layout.html. So I'm going to create a file called layout.html, and just press enter. So in this layout.html, that's where we're going to store the basic our base template that other templates can inherit from. So let me just show you how you're going to do that. So I'm just going to create a simple HTML file in here. So I'm just going to simple HTML template. I'm going to press this. I'm just going to press exclamation and press enter. If you're using VS Code, if you're not, then you have to type out this manually, or I don't know what's the shortcut for the text editor that you are using. So now that you have done that, created, let's go ahead and actually import go ahead and actually bring in the CDN for Bootstrap and other templates so we can inherit from this template. But before we do that, let's just go ahead and create a folder here, and this folder is going to be called we can call it inventory underscore system. So I'm going to call a folder here and call it inventory underscore system. So then press enter, and it's going to create a folder for us called inventory system. Let's folder will come to use it just in a second, but for this this template right here, we can go ahead and actually customize this a bit. So we can just actually place in here you can place in tags that you can inherit from. So what I'm simply going to do, I'm going to create a simple blog content here. So I'm going to call it blog content. I'm going to explain to you just in a second. So I'm going to call it blog content excuse me, and I'm going to end blog. So I'm going to create a blog content, and I'm simply going to end blog. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to specify a template that our other HTML files can inherit. So now that we have that set up, I'm going to create a simple code block here, a code block that our other templates can inherit from. So I'm just going to explain to you this once I'm done. So I'm going to create a block here. I'm going to call it blog content, and then I'm going to end that blog content right here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually end I'm going to end block. Okay, make sure I get the spelling right. I'm going to end block. So this is going to be a content that our other templates can inherit from, and whatever that template contains will be placed in between these two tags. So every other thing here will be inherited. So let me just explain to you this. I'm going to go into inventory underscore system folder, and I'm going to create a template called index.html. Okay, press enter then. So sorry, I'm going to keep this in this should be, so let me just change the name of this, and this should be inventory. Okay, I'm going to call that folder inventory, and I'm going to store in something called index. And so that whatever I'm going to put inside of this folder is going to be placed inside of this block content. Now, how do we inherit from this folder? Okay, how do we inherit all of this other stuff from this folder? Now, that's what I'm going to teach you just right now. So to do that, you just have to say code block, and then say percentage signs, and then space, and then say extends, and then you specify the file that you extend. So I'm going to extend layout.html, and layout.html is inside in one directory back. So I have to say /layout.html. So let me just get the spelling right, HTML. So now that you have specified that, you're just going to go ahead and actually copy this and then bring it here, paste it here. So whatever we put in here will be inherited and be placed in here, and every other thing here will be inherited. Okay, so this just specifies to Django that you want to use this as a template, and you're going to override the whatever is going to be inside of the block content, which is whatever is going to be inside here, right? You're going to override it and place whatever we want to do. Let's say you want to place a h2 tag in here, but the h2 tag is going to come from index.html file. So you have to come in here and then say, and then just use a percentage sign, then h2, and then you say let's say hello world from index. Okay, so let's just say hello world from index, and then that's all we're going to do. So now that we have done that, how do we display our templates? So I'm going to now go into my inventory system folder, and I'm going to go into my URLs. So in my URLs, now we will not refer to this app instead of our URL. We need to refer to this app instead of our URL. So what you're going to simply going to do is going to say path, and you're going to say it's going to be called, you're just going to you're going to specify the path. You're going to call this you're just going to call this we're going to call this include. Now we need to import another library from here. We need to import include, and then you're going to bring include here, and you're going to say include, and then you're going to say inventory, which is the name of that folder, inventory, and you're going to do .urls. So inventory.urls is what you want to include inside of this part here. So if a person goes to the root directory, you want to include inventory.urls. So in here you want to go into inventory. We can see we don't have that urls file, so you have to go ahead and actually create it. You're going to call it urls dot, forgive my typing today, urls.py, just like that, and press enter. Now if you go into your inventory system, you can see you already have a urls file in there. So I'm going to go ahead and actually copy that urls. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go to my urls file that I just created right now, which is in inventory app, and I'm going to paste that over there. So now that I have that pasted there, I'm going to paste that over there, and I'm going to now remove all of this since I don't need it, and I'm going to also going to remove this right here. So I'm just going to leave the path import right there. So I'm going to delete also this, and I'm going to delete this as well, and I'm going to delete, let me just delete all of this and start from scratch. So inside of our urls.py in our inventory folder, what you're going to do is you're going to type the different URLs that can be accessed in our from our view. Okay, and the different URLs, each URL will return a different template. Okay, so I'm going to simply going to go into my URLs. Before I come back here and show you something, I'm going to go into my URLs, and in my URLs I'm going to go ahead and actually create a simple I'm going to call a simple path. Okay, I'm going to create a simple function. It's going to import request. And what you're going to do here is simply going to do, you can simply going to return a template. So I'm going to say return render, and then I'm going to pass in your request. This type of time I explained to you. Now after passing in request, now we want to provide the path to the request folder that you want to return. Basically you want to provide the path to the HTML file that you want to return. Now I want to return index.html, so I have to go into this folder. So the templates folder will be automatically located. So now what you have to do, you have to provide the directory or the path inside of that template folder. Okay, so this is going to be inventory. / and it's going to be called index.html. The reason why we only have to provide this is that Django will automatically locate the templates folder, so we don't have to provide the path to the templates folder. We don't have to provide the path to the folders and files inside of the template folder. So great. So we're going to go to inventory / index. That's what we're going to return. Right now, how do we import this in our URL? So you have to go to your URLs. Let's say from .views import. I'm going to import index. Okay, and I'm going to now return how do I return the index parameter here? So I'm going to say index function, rather I'm going to say path, and I'm going to specify the path of that row. So I'm going to leave it as a base path, and I'm going to provide its path here. And now what we simply have to provide in here is just the name of that function. So I'm going to say index, and then you can provide in a name if you wish, and then you can say maybe sorry, this is going to be index, and then I'm going to say index, just like that. That's all we need to do. So now whenever a person, let me explain to you how this happens. So if a person goes to our root directory, the inventory.urls is going to be called, and it's going to go inside of this folder, and in this folder we are saying the root path. So you're going to go to root, and then it's going to return the index file, and the index file is going to go into it's going to view this, and it's going to render our inventory / index. And in the index function, what we're simply going to render, we're going to render a template called index.html, and index.html is going to go in here, and it's going to extend layout.html. So it's going to go to layout.html, it's going to copy everything, which means all this CSS, all this HTML stuff, and it's going to embed this in between this block tag here. So it's going to simply return a hello world. Okay, so now let me just save this, and then let's go back to our terminal, and in our terminal I'm simply going to start my development style. So I'm going to say ls, I'm going to change my directory into inventory system, and I'm going to do python 3 manage.py, then I'm saying run server. So we just press enter, and it's going to start our development server running at localhost at port 8000. So if you go to the browser, you just type in localhost colon, yes, like this, localhost colon, and then 8000. So if you go to the browser, just going to bring up my browser, I'm going to type in here localhost colon 8000 and press enter. What this is simply going to do is simply we're getting a template error. So we're saying layout doesn't exist. So I made a typo there, you can see that's typo. So let me just go back to my this is actually layout. Let me save that, and I can go back and check that out. So refresh that, you can see it is getting hello world from index. So that's how we can simply return a simple index file, a simple template file. So what we did is that, first of all, we created layout.html, and we created a block content that is going to be inherited by other templates. And we're going to create an index file that inherited the layout.html file and inherited and overridden the content of the block content section, this one, and simply placed in the hello world. And now we're going to register our URLs. So we're going to first our inventory system, which is our main app, and then in there we have included the root directory. In the root directory we have included inventory.urls, and in inventory.urls we went ahead and created a file called urls, because that inventory.urls was not initially there. So we went to create inventory.urls, and inventory.urls we have simply said it's going to return the root directory is going to return index, which is a function, and we went to views and we written that function, and this function simply return an index, return inventory /html, which is this template right there. So that's how we do template inheritance in Django. So now more about the URLs and the other stuff, I know we'll talk more about them as we go along. So now that's how template inheritance works in Django. So let's go ahead and actually go to I'm going to go to Bootstrap, and I'm going to go to Bootstrap, and I'm going to just going to go to Bootstrap, and I'm going to let's go here and then just type in Bootstrap. So go into your browser and search for Bootstrap, and then Bootstrap is just a CSS library that helps us to make our designs and other stuff without having to write our own CSS. So it saves us a lot of time, and in this tutorial I'm going to use Bootstrap because this tutorial is not more about CSS or JavaScript or anything like that. It's just about Django and how Django works and how to understand Django at a fundamental level to create an inventory management system. So I'm going to be using Bootstrap to help us to deal with the CSS. So Bootstrap is a CSS JavaScript library. So you can just press enter, and it's going to go to the Bootstrap official page. Click on get started, and if you click on get started, you can see the link here. So we're going to copy this CSS link, and you're going to go into our templates. I'm going to go to our layout. You're going to go ahead and actually paste that right here. That's how we paste that. We can paste that right there, and then we can go ahead and actually get the other link. So you can go ahead and actually get this other link, and you can go ahead and paste it right here just before the end of the closing body. We can paste that right there. And then let me just format this a bit. So I'm going to indent this. So now that we have all that set up, now our template is going to be using a Bootstrap. So you can go to the head and go to the home page and try to refresh. You can see our template, our indexing has changed a bit. That shows that Bootstrap is now running. Okay, so now what you want to do, let me just show you how to write a dynamic URL. Let's say that you want the title to change based upon what is being provided, right? You want the title to change based upon which page you are on. So we can actually write some conditions in here. Okay, so let me just tab this a bit down. So I'm just going to tab this a bit down, and I'm going to write that logic right here. So what you're going to do to write logic, you have to say code block and then %2 signs, and you write your logic inside there. So I'm going to say if title, and then you're going to go ahead and end the if. So this is some Bootstrap, some Ginger 2 template code. So you're going to say end if. Okay, so when you start the if statement, you have to end if. Now I also want an else in here, so I have to say else. So I think if there is a title, what you want to do, we're going to now render title, and then I'm going to say in here, we're going to say title. So I'm going to use 2 curly braces signs, and then in here I'm going to provide in title. So 2 curly braces sign is used to refer to variables. So in here I'm going to refer to a variable called title, and that variable we're going to provide it just in a second. Else, we're going to say here, I'm just going to copy this and just copy and paste it here, and I'm just going to tab this over, and I'm simply going to just say we can say IMS inventory management system. So if there is a title provided, use that title. So you can say IMS and then hyphen and then that title. Okay, so you can say IMS hyphen and then that title. If there's no title, we're just going to return IMS. Okay, so now if I go back to my page and I go to my page and then I refresh, you can see the title of that page is just going to be IMS, and it's right here. You can just see it's just going to be IMS. Okay, now what if I provide a title, and how do I provide a title? So let's go back to our template here, and then in here we can provide in a dictionary, we can provide in a context. So I'm going to go ahead and provide in a context, and this is going to be just a dictionary. So I'm going to create a dictionary here, and I'm going to go ahead and say title, and the title is just going to be we can just say, I can just go ahead and say index page. Now that I provide that there, I can come down here and just say context, and then just say context is going to be context that you have just said up here. So context is going to be this context right here. So if I go back to our page, we have the context, and this context has title, and the title is going to be index page. So if I go back to my page and then I refresh, you can say IMS, and then you can see index page, IMS hyphen and then index page. So that's how you can create some dynamic URLs. So now let's go ahead and actually add a navigation bar and other stuff to our project. So I'm going to go ahead and then search for nav bar. So I'm going to say nav bar. Okay, I'm going to go to nav bar documentation, and you can see we have some couple of navigation bars right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually go for the simplest navigation bar. So I think this one is fine, so I'm just going to copy this. Then we can go back to our layout.html. The reason I'm pasting it in our layout.html is that we want every template to be able to inherit this. So I'm going to paste it right here. So I'm going to paste it right there, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually make it to be dark. So I'm going to change that to be dark, and I'm going to change it to be dark. Okay, I want it to be dark. And then I can remove all of this. I don't need any of this, so I can just go ahead and remove all of this li stuff. I'm going to remove all of them, so make sure I clear that properly. I'm going to remove also this. So this all we have, we just have home and then stuff like that. So we're going to leave that there, and then I'm going to go back to my home page, and I'm going to now refresh. Now you can see we have a navigation bar right there. So that's how we can create a navigation bar, and this navigation bar is responsive. So when I go to inspect, this navigation bar is actually going to be responsive. So if I press, you can see that navigation bar is responsive. So that's how we can work with that navigation bar from Bootstrap without having to actually create a lot of code. So now that is working fine. I want to now give a bit of styling to my page here. Instead of just returning block content, I'm going to remove that from there, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to call it main, and then I'm going to call it main. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have a div here. This is going to have a class of container dash fluid. And don't worry, this is some Bootstrap classes, so don't worry about them. So in this container that's fluid, it's just going to give some dynamic, we're just going to use it for making a grid system in Bootstrap. So I'm going to create a row here, and this row I'm going to now give it I'm going to create a row here, and inside of this row div, and I'm going to inside of this row div, I'm going to have the following div. So I'm going to have call, I'm going to have a div that is going to have call dash md, going to have call md1, and then press enter. I'm going to now have that call, and I'm going to have another call here. I'm going to have another column. It's going to be dot call hyphen md, and then hyphen 10. That's call. I'm going to have that call right there. Press enter, and this is going to fill it for us. And I'm going to have another column here, and it's going to be dot call dash hyphen md, and I'm going to give it 1. So press enter. Now I'm not going to explain to you this Bootstrap stuff, but this is just creating a row, and each row has a different columns. Okay, and this column has 10 of the, because the Bootstrap columns are divided into 12, and the main column is going to be the column in the middle, and it's going to have 10 a space of 10, while the other ones have a space of 1 on the side, just give it a bit of kind of padding to our page, right? So now here I'm not also passing some class. I'm going to call there's going to be call, this is covering my view, call dash sm. I'm going to give it a call sm. I'm going to give it 12, and I'm going to have call xm, and I'm going to give it a value of 12. So this is some Bootstrap classes, and I'm not going to explain to you Bootstrap stuff. If you want to study Bootstrap, you can go ahead on the link and actually study there. So instead of the middle tag, that's where we're going to have our block content. So I'm going to go ahead and actually paste our block content in here. So whatever our other templates are going to be placing is going to be right here in between this column block, the middle block. So I'm going to go to my website and then press refresh. Now you can see our hello world from index part has been indented, since we have a column on the left and a column on the right with a space of 1, while a column in the middle has a space of 10. So that's how we set that up, and I'm going to end this tutorial here. So that's how we are able to set this up, and that's how template inheritance works in Java and Django. So in the next tutorial, we're going to go ahead and actually create a login page where the user is going to be able to log into the system. So guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Back to my channel. So let's continue with our Django inventory management series. So in the last tutorial, this tutorial left from the last tutorial, we have been able to create an index. We have been able to learn about templates and templates inheritance in Django. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and actually create the login page where the users will be able to log in and to be able to log out and stuff like that. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply go ahead, and I'm going to go into my URLs folder. So I'm going to go into my template, my project folder, which is going to be inventory system. I'm going to go under URLs here, and in here I'm going to import something. But before I get started, you can see I want the base URL to be the login. So if a person goes to the website initially, he gets prompted with that login page, right? So now we want to change that to be, because currently the root URL is being used by our inventory system. So if I just go back to inventory system and I refresh, you can see we're just getting back by default we're just getting back the hello world from index, right? So how do I override that thing? So I'm going to now change this. I'm going to now put in here, I want to be inventory and then /. So if person goes to inventory /, it's going to go to inventory URLs, and inventory.urls is going to call this. If we didn't provide any other specifications after the /, then this is going to hit this route, and this route is simply going to return the index folder, right? Our index function, which is inside of our view, which simply returns the index.html template. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to refresh this. You're not going to get back anything, so page not found. So if I go to / inventory and I press /, we can see now we're getting back hello world from index. So that's how that works. So now that we are using the index for that, now let's go ahead back to our inventory system. And in our inventory system, what we're going to do, I'm going to import something. I'm going to say from django.contrib I'm going to go to out import. You're going to import import views as, and I'm going to call it out_views, just like that. So in here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another path. So I'm going to call it path, and this path is going to be the root path, and what is going to return is going to return to us sorry, it's going to be out, sorry, let me just close that, out underscore views dot login view dot as view question, make sure you close those parentheses there. So it's going to say out dot login view, which is a login, this is a login view that Django already provides for us. Means that Django already has a system for us to be able to log in without having to create it from scratch ourselves. So Django already has a login system, so just going to create a template to display that login system to the user. So you're going to say out, which is this class that you have imported from django.contrib.out.views. You have imported it as out views. You're going to go into the login view, which gives the user the login form, and you're going to say as view, and as view you need to pass in as view if it's a class. Since it's a class, you have to say dot as view, and also you can tell if it's a class because it has a capital has a camel case into it, right? That's a Python convention. So now we're going to write in the template name, which template is going to render. So template underscore name. So template name is going to be, we're going to provide in a template, you're going to call it inventory underscore system. You're going to create this template just in a moment, and then you're going to call it login.html. So you're going to go to inventory system /login.html, and you can also provide in a name to this template, to this sort, and you call it name is going to be login, just like that. So that's what you're going to do. So now I'm going to need to provide this template, because we created a template name to this inventory system, which is a folder that we currently don't have. So we have to create that folder and then /login.html instead of that folder. So I'm going to go in here and create a folder called inventory underscore system, and then I'm going to create that folder, and instead of this folder I'm going to create a file called login.html. So great. So instead of this folder, we're going to inherit from our layout.html template. So I'm going to say extends, and then I'm going to pass in here to backslash it, because we're going to direct. And in login.html, we're going to go back extends. We're going to go back to directories back. What you're going to type in is going to be layout.html. So you're going to type in layout.html, just like that. You're going to inherit that template. So now we need to override the block content. So I'm going to now pass in the block content here. This is going to be block content, just like we did in the previous tutorial. So it's going to be block. It's going to be it's going to be block content. So it's going to be block content, and then you're going to end that block content right here. So I'm going to pass in make sure I pass in those percentage signs, those curly braces, then percentage signs, and then it's going to be end block, just like that. So now you're going to pass in the content, right? So I'm going to have a div. I'm going to create a div, and instead of this div I'm going to create a form, and the form method just going to leave out the action part. So make sure that you leave out the action, and you're going to provide the method, and the method is going to be a post method, right? Because you're going to be sending something to the server, so going to be a post method form. And then you're going to have a field, so you're going to have field set, and then inside of field set, what you're going to have, I'm going to create a legend here, just some set of stuff, legend, and I'm going to instead of this legend I'm going to say login form, and then down here I'm going to go ahead and actually create return my form. So I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to create a div here, a div tag, and inside of this div, that's where I'm going to render my form. And to render the form, you just have to say form, just like that. So that's all we need to render that form. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually create a button for that page the user can click login. So I'm going to create that button. So I'm going to create a div here. I'm going to go ahead and create a div, and inside of this div I'm going to have a button, and inside of this button I'm just going to create login, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and actually save this. So this form is going to be something that is going to be provided to us by Django. It's going to be passed into this template, and I'm simply going to render it here. So you're going to refer to it as a variable, and you're going to render it here. So if you go back to our let's check if our server is running. Yes, our server is running. So let me go to the root directory of our project. So if I press enter, what you're going to have is this form right here. Now this looks very, very, very bad and ugly. So how do we make sure that this looks good and nice for that, so the user can be able to log in just by filling in this form? Now this form actually looks ugly, so I want us to be able to add a bit of styling to this form. So there is a library for that in Django. So this is going to be Django. Just go and search for Django Crispy Forms on Google, and this will bring you to this page. So click on install Django Crispy Forms, and then click on the install command. So this is going to be pip install Django -crispy-forms. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually go to my terminal, stop my development server, clear the terminal, and then paste that command in there, and then press enter. This is going to install for us the Django crispy forms. So great. So now that's being installed, you can also go to install files. You can see the install files. We need to add crispy forms, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go to my project, and I'm going to go into my my settings. Let me just close some of this up, go to my settings, and then go to install apps, which is this part, and I'm going to go ahead and actually paste that command in here, crispy forms. And then let's go back to the documentation and see what the documentation says. So now I have different templates, so I'm going to use the Bootstrap template. So I'm going to copy this and then go to my settings, and then let me go paste it at the very bottom here. So let me just paste here, and you can say crispy forms. So let me paste that there, and I'm going to return. I'm going to use Bootstrap, so I'm going to use Bootstrap. I'm going to use Bootstrap 4. So just put that in the Bootstrap 4, and then that is going to work. So you can go ahead and actually take time to read the documentation on your own. I have read the documentation, and I know that there's a Bootstrap 4 template that can be used. So you can see it here, Bootstrap, okay, and Bootstrap 4. So, and all these templates are supported, but I'm using the latest one, which is Bootstrap 4. They haven't yet provided one for Bootstrap 5. So yeah, that's it. So if you go back here, you can see that it's already installed. So now how do we use this in our template? So I'm going to go back to my templates. I'm going to go back to layout.html, and I'm going to now provide in some Bootstrap classes here to make our form look good. So in the legend, let's say the legend, I'm going to add a class here, and this class is going to be border. I'm going to provide border bottom. These are just some Bootstrap classes, border bottom, and I'm going to do padding bottom. Padding bottom is going to be of type 2, and then I'm going to margin bottom is going to be of 4, and I'm going to go ahead text, and I'm going to center this text as center, just like that. And now in here, I'm going to go ahead and actually import my crispy form. So I'm going to go ahead and actually put in a code block. So put in a code block here, and inside of this code block, this way we can now go ahead and actually load the crispy form. So I'm going to say load crispy, and then a crispy underscore form underscore tags. So this is going to load as the crispy form tag. So I'm going to come up, now that you have loaded the crispy form tags, I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to pass it in here. So put a code block, and then I'm going to say it's going to be crispy forms, just like that, crispy, sorry. So this actually, I made a mistake here. This is going to be a token. So this is going to be CRSF underscore token. So what this is going to do, I'm just going to keep this in a moment. Before this allows us to provide some security to our website. So CRS stands for cross-origin, cross-site request forgery token. So this is a form of attack that hackers can use to hack into your system. So CRF token provide security against such attacks. So make sure that you include the CRF token right here. So now that you have included the CRF token, which is going to make our form more secure, now we're going to pass in I'm going to pass in crispy here, and crispy here is going to make our form. It's going to pass in those Bootstrap styling to our form. So I'm going to pass in here. It's just going to be a pipe symbol. So just passing it in here. Just pass it in there, and you can see we have that form /crispy. So this is going to provide our crispy form some styling. Okay. So now I'm going to provide in some styling here. I'm going to call this one going to be form-group. So I'm going to create form-group, and it's going to be some form group for our application. So form-group, and then in here I'm going to write some class as well, and this class is going to be form-group group, and then hyphen. This is going to be form-group, and then we're going to have a padding of 4. And inside of our button here, we can also select this button. So it's going to be btn dash btn hyphen, and then it's going to be outline. I was going to say outline dash you're going to say success, just like that. And you're going to now have a type, and the type is going to be of type submit. So you're going to have type, and it's going to be submit, just like that. So now our form is already styled. So I'm going to go ahead and actually save this, and I go back to my website, and I can just go here and then check if the server is running again. So I'm going to now start that again, python 3 manage.py. So whenever I refresh my website, you can see that form we got an error there. So it's failing to load crispy forms. So I'm going to go in here, and you can see I load crispy forms. Okay, so it's an S there. So crispy forms tags. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my website one more time, and we have an error there. So in filter crispy, so I made an error there again. Sorry for that. This is really crispy. Okay, so now that I've fixed that error, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my website. Now you can see that form is properly displayed and has this Bootstrap styling to it. So great. Now I want to add another more styling to my website before we proceed with this tutorial. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add in a CSS template. Let's say you want to add in a bit of CSS to customize how your styling is controlled, right? So I'm going to go ahead and actually go to my settings.py, and in my settings.py I'm going to modify something to be able to display my static files. So I'm going to go into my settings, and in my settings I'm going to go up here. You can see static URL. It says going to be a static, right? So I'm going to go ahead and actually customize this a bit. So I'm also going to provide let this be uppercase, so it's going to be static. This is going to be static files. So static files is going to be something, it is going to be a tuple, right? So we're going to put it in a tuple, and this is going to be os.path.join. So this is os.path.join, and in here you're going to provide in the base URL. So this is going to be base dir, and then you're going to provide in a file called static, just like that. And then this is a single element tuple. You have to keep a comma right here. So now that's the setup. So this is going to now configure our setting for our startup file. So our startup URLs is going to be static, and then we have a static files here. So I made an error. That's a static file. So static files underscore, I made an error, static files underscore dir. So static files directory is going to be in base directory in a folder called static. So now let's just close all of this up. Let me just minimize all of this so that you guys can see. So now that I've minimized this, I'm going to go into my root directory and I'm going to create a new folder called static. Just press enter. So in the static folder, so we're going to keep our static files. Great. So how do you keep these static files? So now you can create another folder in there, and that folder can be called maybe CSS, and that CSS can contain something else, right? So I'm going to create a folder in here, and I'm going to call it CSS. And then inside of this CSS, I'm going to create a file called main.css. So press enter. So instead of main.css, we can paste in some code that is going to render there's some basic styling. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to my my GitHub page, and I'm going to go into my static folder. I've already written this project, so I'm going to go into main, and I'm going to copy this right here. So I'm going to copy this, and you can pause the video and type out this. I didn't want to waste time typing all this, so I'm going to paste that in there. So that's all we need to do to register our static files. So how do we use our static files in our HTML? Now that's a good question. So let's go ahead and see how we can use that in our login template. So let's go back to our login.html and in here what you're going to do, you can just go ahead and actually load static. So now first of all, before we do that, let's first go in ahead and actually go to our main let's go ahead, let's use it here first. Let's say here let's put a code block, and instead of this code block, we're going to now provide in the following. You're going to say load, and then you're going to say static. So load static, and it's going to load that static directory for us. So now that I have done that, again providing that class right here. So I'm going to put in a class, and it's going to say class, and it's going to be content section. So there's going to be a content section. So let's go back and see if we refresh, if our page is going to now adapt those changes. So if I refresh this, let's see. Okay, we get our server has stopped running. So let me just clear the terminal and make sure I start my development server again, and I can go back to my website and simply press on refresh, and you can see our templates, our CSS hasn't been picked up. Let's do Ctrl Shift and R. It hasn't yet be picked up. So now let's go back to our main.urls. So in our main.url, what you're going to do in here, we're going to now provide, you're going to also now going to load that static. So we're going to go into up here, and of course all you're going to do is simply load the static. So I just put it above here, so here, and then I'm going to say put in a code block, and I'm going to now provide in here sorry, it's going to be in here, and then it's going to be load static, just like that. So that's all we need to do, and now we need to now write in our static file here. So we're going to provide in a link. We're going to specify the following. It's going to be a link tag. So this link tag is going to have the following. So we're going to say rel is going to be style, and then first style is going to be first style sheet, just like that. And then you're going to provide in the href. The href is going to be it's going to be a code block. So you're going to spread in the code block here, and it's going to be the following. It's going to be static, which is our static folder. So static, and in there you want to go to So providing again the file path. The file path is going to be in a quote size, so we're going to use single quote here, since outside you've already used double quotes on the outside. So on the in, you're going to say css / is going to be main.css, just like that, and that's all we need. And we can specify the type here. It's going to be, say, type equals to css. It's going to be text /css, just like that. And then now we need to close off this. So now I'm going to save this. Now this is going to just load our static files in here, and make sure that you provide in load, and then now reloading the static files this way. So now I'm going to go back to my website and then press refresh again, and then we have we have an error there, so it's saying static. So let's see where we got that. We got that error here. So we're going to go into, this is actually static, not status. So I'm going to go in here, sorry for that error, and I'm going to refresh this, so you can see we have that ready. So I'm going to do Control Shift and R. Sometimes you need to do Control Shift and R for those changes to reflect. So now let's go back to our form here. In our form here, let's add some more CSS styles today. So let's go back to our styles here. So I'm going to go to inventory, going to our inventory, and then go to login.html full file, and in there what you're going to do is going to provide more styling in here. So let's see what we did. So when you pass in the content section, we have passed in the form, and then you have passed in the form group and other form decorations, and then yeah, that's basically what we need. And in here we pass in our form group. That's great. So that's all we need to provide for our for that to work. So you can also pass in here form media if you want. So you can also pass in here as a variable. You can pass in form dash media, just like that, and you can go ahead and actually save that. So now that we have loaded static, and then we have passed in all this styling we want, we can just go ahead and actually save that changes, and then we can do a refresh here. So you can do Control Shift and R to do that refresh, and that's what we get. So let's try to log in, and I'm going to log in as Prince, and my password is admin1234. Okay, and then if I remember, I think it's 1234. Let me try to log in, and we got an error there. So let me try to log in again. This is going to be admin 1 2 3 4 and 5. So let me try to log in again, and it's going to log me in. Now you can see page not found. Now by default, if you log into Django, it's going to direct you to account/profile. Now how do we tell Django where to direct us after we logged in? So now that's we need to now go to our settings. In our settings, we need to provide in a certain URL where to redirect us whenever we successfully been able to log in. So we're going to go into our settings folder. In our settings, we're going to provide go into here, and then go into settings in our roots here, and then go into settings, and in here you're going to provide in here, we're going to provide the root directory where the user needs to be logging. So login URLs, and in here I'm going to provide in, this is going to be uppercase, login underscore redirect. So login redirect is going to tell the user, is going to redirect the user to this page when the user wants to log in, without first going to the where the user wants to access a page or a resource that requires him to log in. Then the login URL is going to now redirect him there. So I'm going to inventory, just like that, login direct URL, just like that, and then now in our login, we're going to provide in login underscore URL, and then this is going to be / is going to be just login. So login URL is going to direct the user to just login. Login URL is going to direct the user to login, and login is a name that you have provided to one of our if you go back to here, login is a name that you have provided to one of our URLs here. So it's going to direct the user to login whenever the user is not logged in, and whenever it gets logged in, it's going to direct it to redirect the user to inventory /. So whenever the user gets logged in, it's going to redirect the user to login inventory, the inventory / inventory, and if the user is not logged in and wants to access a resource, it's going to be directed to login page for him to log in before he is able to access that resource. So now let's try this again. Let me go back again. So let me go back, stop my development server, and start it again. I hope that logs me out. So let me just go back again, and then I stop my development server, clear the terminal, and then start again. Start that again. So I'm going to start my development server, go back to the website, and then try to refresh this again. Just going to continue. If I continue, you can see it goes to let me see, let me try to refresh this. Okay, so I'm going to put in admin, just like this, 1 2 3 4, and then try to log in. So it's going to my password is wrong, I think, admin 1 2 3 4. So let me try to, I think it's 5. Okay, try to log in again. So you can see it has redirected me /inventory, and you simply get this page. So now we have been able to log in the user. So great. So now our login functionality is working. So now I want us to edit something before we end this tutorial. So I want us to go back to our templates, and then instead of our templates we're going to go to inventory system, and so we're going to go back to, sorry, not inventory system rather, but our login page. So we're going to go back to here and then go back to our layout.html, and our layout to display some specific features to the user, else will not display those features to the user. So let's go back here, and what you want to do, I'm going to create a code block here. So I'm going to create a code block, and I'm going to pass in those two parameters, a code block, and I'm going to pass in those two parameters here, and I'm going to check if request.user.is underscore authenticated. So this is going to check if the current user is logged in. So let's end that if block. So we're going to now go ahead and end if. So if the user is logged in, what do you want to do? So you can return a certain URL to that specific user, right? So now the first URL we're going to return to the user is when the user gets logged in, is he able to see a button to log out. So let's call this log out, just like that, log out, just like that. So now that the user is going to, if the user gets authenticated, this is going to be a true, and the user is going to be returned another link called logout. So if I just go back here and I try to refresh this, we should be able to see that logout there. It doesn't really reflect for now. So if request, so I made a spelling error there, if request.user, okay, if request.user is authenticated, and then you show that user logout page. So let me just try to refresh this again, and we have that logout there, right there. So now we have that they being displayed. So this actually, I made an error there, so this is actually going to be outside of there. There's some logout, so this is just some CSS error that I made. So this is going to be a list item. Inside of that list item, we're going to provide in this right here. Yes, we're going to provide in this. So we're going to now empty this, properly format this, and now we can go ahead and actually try to refresh this again. Now you can see it's properly formatted. So now where's the route for user to be able to log in? So now let's go ahead and actually create that route. So now we need to go back to our project directory once more time. So go to our project, our main project, and then go to urls.py. So if you go back to our main project and then go to urls.py, it is here that we need to provide this. So I'm going to copy this. It's going to be very similar to this. So I'm going to copy this thing, copy it, and then I'm going to repeat it one more time. So I'm going to paste it here one more time, and this is going to call this logout, and this is going to be called logout. So I'm going to call it logout, and then I'm going to go in here. It's going to be called logout. So logout view. So let me just make sure I get that right. So I think the spelling is wrong there. So let me just first make sure that you keep a comma in there, because it's a list, right? So every element has to be separated with comma. So it will be logout view. So there's like that logout view, that has view, and you're going to return which template are you going to return. This is going to be called logout // So if you go to the /logout, it's going to return to you this template called logout.html. So let's go and actually create that template, and it's going to be in here along with the login. So I'm going to go ahead and create in here. It's going to call it logout.html. So press enter, and then in here we're going to go ahead and actually fill that. So what do we want the user to see whenever the user logs out? So that's what we're going to specify in here. Now what we want to see, this basically see, is that we're going to tell the user to just say you have been logged out, and then provide a login for another link for the user to be able to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and actually provide in here. I'm going to say extends, and then extend is going to extend the layout.html. So it's going to be two directories back, / is going to be called layout.html, just like that. So now that we have done that, we're going to extend the block content, and we're going to now extend that block content here. So we're going to say block content, just like that, and you're going to make sure that you end that block content by using another code block, and then end block. You can also provide in content if you want here, but I'm not going to provide in that right there. So what you're going to now do in here, we're also going to go ahead and actually just create a div here, and this div is going to have a this person is small here, and this is going to have just this text, you have been logged out. and then you're going to provide in another a HTML link here, and this is going to be a href link, and it's going to have a href. For now I'm just going to leave it as a pound sign. We'll come back to this just in a second, and then you're just going to say to this login again, just like that. So now let's provide in some styling for this. So let me just provide in some styling for this. It's going to have a class, and it's going to have a content section, and then in here we're going to now provide in let's provide also this class. It's going to have a class it's going to have a class of text dash muted. So you can have a class of text muted, and yeah, that's what we need. So in providing the content, you're providing a code block here. So in providing this code block, make sure you include the percentage signs, and instead of this code block you're going to include the following. You're going to say URL, and you're going to say login, and this login is the name of this. If I go back to my URLs here, is the name of the route that you have set logout. Sorry, it's going to be called logout, login rather. So login. So I'm a bit confused. So login is a route that the user needs to use whenever he wants to log in, and this needs to be in double quotes. So since you have used double quotes outside, I'm going to use single quotes inside. Okay, so this is going to be quoted. So login and then quotes, and then login. That's that login, which is the name of this route name. Okay. So that's how we need to do to enable the user to be able to log in. So whenever the user logs out, it's going to be taken to this page, and then he can be able to log in using that link. Okay, so let's try this out. Before we can try this out, let's make sure that we load static for this to work. So it's going to say percentage code block, and then say load static. This will work without loading static, but I need to load static because I'm using this class content section that is a custom HTML in my static file. So I'm going to now load that there. So now that's all we need, and I can go ahead and actually save this. I can go back to my website and then refresh this to a hard refresh, Control Shift and R, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually try to log out, and this is not going to work for now. So let's go back and see why it's not working. So let's go back to our href, our layout.html, and you can see currently in our layout.html we're not providing the route for user to be able to log in. That's why that is not reflecting in there. So how do we do that? Now that's simple. We just have to create a login route, a URL to that page. So what you're going to do in here, providing a code block. So I'm going to delete this, creating a code block, and then make sure you keep the percentage signs. And then what you're going to say URL, and then you simply say URL, and then you simply say logout. So just say the single quotes and then log out, just like that. And logout is the name of that function right there, or that route function is the name of this route function, and the name of this route function is the name that you have to use here for that user to be able to log out. So you can go back in here, try to refresh this, and you can see if I press this, if I hover on this, you can see on my on the root on my bottom of the page browser here, you can see saying /logout. So if I press on this, it's going to log me out, and you can see you have been logged out, and you can press login again, and this is going to bring me to this page where I can fill in the form, and then I can now log in again. So I'm going to say admin, then 1 2 3 4 5, and then I can go ahead and actually log in again. So it's going to log me again, and again log out again. So this is how the login and the logout functionality is not being reflected, because it's not supposed to look like this. So now let's go ahead and actually fix that. So let's go back to my code, and in my code I think I made an error in specifying my URL. So let's go into settings here, into my specifying my basic stat directory. So if I go into URLs here, what I'm going to do is supposed to be S. Okay, so capital S. So it's going to be static files underscore dir. So dirs rather is there. So this is plural, not singular. So that's that. So now let me just go back to my page, and then I'm going to do a hard refresh. So now you can see it has already I think there's an error there, so I need to go and start my yeah. So you can see that changes have been reflected there. I don't know why that happened, but that changes have been reflected. I think the server didn't start whenever we did a hard refresh. That's why we can see now that has been reflected, and it is all working. So if I go back and I try to log in again, it should now reflect even on my form. Even on my form, you can see now it has also reflected here as well. So it has all this padding and all this shading and white, and the background being a little bit dark. So that's all for this tutorial. So guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the notification bell so you can get updated whenever I upload the next videos. So in the last tutorial, I've been able to create the login and the logout function for our system. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and actually go ahead and actually display the product after the user has been able to log in. So now the user is able to log in. Whenever the user logs in, we direct the user to the page where he's able to see this hello world. Right now we want the user to be able to see the products after he or she has logged in. So if I press on login, it's going to direct the user to this page, to this specific page, should be able to see the product instead of just seeing hello world from index. Okay, so now how do we do that? So let's go back to our page here. Let's go back to our web project, and then go into inventory, and inventory go under views. So right now we are currently just returning this view, right? So I want to change this, and this should be something else. So I'm going to create actually, before the user can I want to actually change this. Okay, so I'm going to go into be inventory underscore list, just like that. And this is going to take in request, and what this is going to do is going to, first of all, let me just change this to be inventory list. Okay, I can just change the title, which is going to be inventory list. Okay, so now whenever I go to this page, first of all I want to filter, I want to get all the data, all the inventories that we have in our database. So first of all I'm going to import our model. So from models, so I've created the model or the database in the previous tutorial. So if you haven't checked that tutorial, go back and check that tutorial out. Okay, so I'm going to say from models import inventory. So inventory, so now we're going to get our inventories. So inventories, and this is going to be inventory dot objects dot all. So this is going to return to you all the inventories in our database. So we now pass it in here. So let me just keep a comma, and then I'm passing it in here, inventories. So inventories, and the inventories is going to be this / inventories. Okay, just like that. So we're going to refer to this inventory, you're going to pass into our context, and the reason why passing into our context is because whenever I pass into our context, we can access our context instead of our templates, right? So we can be able to work with it from there. So now we're going to just return to this will be inventory underscore list.html. so inventory list.html is a file that we need to create. So go back to static, and then instead of our static, go into our inventory, and then inventory I'm going to create a static, and the new file is going to be called inventory underscore list.html. so press enter, and that will create for you that inventory list.html. so in that inventory list.html we have access to our inventories since we have passed them to our context. So let's go in here and let's see what you're going to do in here. So what you're going to do in here is simply going to create a table, and that table is going to display all of our content, all of our inventories, right? So that's simply something simple that you're going to do. So for what we need to do is that we need to inherit from the base template. So that's going to keep this, and then you say extends. So then just extends, and this is going to be 2 process back, and then this is going to be layout.html, just like that. And now we need to inherit override the block content. This is going to be block content, and then let's make sure that we end that there. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually end block, just like that. So now that we have done that, let's go ahead and actually begin to create a table. So I'm going to use a Bootstrap table. Now I'm just going to now keep the have a div. This is content section. So we're going to have a content section. That's where our table is going to be at. So in this table, what you're going to do, you're going to create a Bootstrap table. So this type of time, so we're going to have a table, and you're going to have a class. The class is going to be table, and it's going to be table, and then it's going to be / and then it's going to be striped. So it's going to be hyphen stripe, and then table, and then we're going to say table. This is going to be table hyphen, and it's going to be bordered, just like this. And then we're going to say table hyphen hover. So it's going to have some hover effect on our table. These are just some Bootstrap classes that we are creating. So we have a table right there. Inside our table we have a table head. So table head, just like this. In our table head, you're going to have the following classes. So we're going to have a class, and this class is going to be table head, and you're going to table head and say dark, just like that. And in here we're going to have our table rows, our different table rows. So we're going to have table row, and the table rows are going to be as follows. So this is going to be a table row, and this table row is going to have a table head, so just like this. And this table head is going to have a scope. So it's going to have a scope, and the scope is going to be column, just like that. So now what you're going to do in here, I'm going to keep an ampersand because each table, each record will have a name, right? A number. So we're going to copy this and duplicate this a couple of times and change the values for this. So let me just copy this one more time, copy it and then paste it here, and then paste a couple of times. So now we're going to change this. So we're going to have each table is going to have a name. Sorry, each product have a name, and then a name, and then you have a quantity in stock, and then you're going to have quantity sold. So this is going to be deleted, and you have quantity sold just like that. And you're going to have cost per item. So you're going to have cost per item, and then you're going to have sales or revenue. So it's going to be sales or revenue, just like that, revenue. And then you're going to have stock. This is going to be stock date, and then you're going to have last sales date. So last sales date, just like that. So I'm going to now get rid of all these other left columns. So I'm going to delete all of that. So this is going to have, so it's going to have a name, quantity in stock, quantity sold, quantity cost per item, sales or revenue, stock date, and then last sales date. So great. So now we have our table there. So now we're going to have a table body. So our table body is going to be as follows. So we're going to have a table body. So table body. So let me just close off table body, and then it's going to close off that. So what we're going to do in here, we're going to now say the following. So we're going to have a table row. So table row. And in here, what we're going to have table head, table data, and the table data is going to be as follows. Now we're going to let me just fill in this class here, and then I'll explain to you. So I'm going to say style. We're going to say cursor of type pointer, because I want whenever you point on each table, right, the cursor should display. That's why I'm keeping this class here. And then I'm going to have a cursor, and then the cursor is going to be hand. So it's going to be hand. Sorry, it will be hand, just like that. And then I'm close of that. Okay, now that I have that, so let me just make sure I delete this right there. So yeah, so now that I have that, I can also click on click, and then on click this will figure out later. So on click, I'm just going to now on click and then say this, and then I'm going to, let me just leave it out for now. We'll come back to this just in a second. So just delete all of this, and we'll come back to this just in a second. So we want whenever you hover on each table, you should have a pointer on it. So now each table is going to have the product details. So how do we get the product details? Now this is going to be multiple products. So now we're going to write a loop to loop through all of these products. So I'm going to have a simple I'm going to have a for loop. So for inventory, this is going to inventories. So this will be inventories. For inventory.inventory, so for each inventory I want to create a new table, right? So I'm just going to end that block content. I'm going to end for rather. So for each inventory, what I want to do is, I want to now render that inventory. So first of all, I forgot something. I need to keep here scope, and then the scope is going to be let's see if we can leave you can keep scope, and then the scope is going to be row. Okay, now this is going to be table head. Okay, table head rather, not table row. So this is going to be table head. So great. So table head, and then we have a scope, and the scope is of this much. So now for each of this, I'm going to now create the values that are going to fill in that place. So the first one is going to be for the ID of that product, not the ID but the number, to keep like 1, 2, 3 and 4 like that. So I want to do for loop. This is just some Ginger 2 template to keep track of loops. Okay, so for loop, so we're going to for loop.counter, and it's going to keep filling this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and you guys will see this just in a second. So I'm going to copy this and duplicate it a couple of times. So copy this, so I'm going to copy this rather and paste it here. Paste it here. Going to paste it a couple of times. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm now going to modify this. So the first one is going to be inventory.name. So it's going to be inventory.name. So make sure I delete that R. And the second one is going to be inventory.quantity in stock. So be inventory.quantity underscore in underscore stock. Make sure I delete that R again. I don't know why I keep forgetting that R. And then this one is going to be inventory dot this is going to be quantity underscore sold. And then the other one is going to be inventory, is going to be inventory dot cost per items, because it's going to be inventory dot cost underscore per underscore item, just like that, inventory cost per item. And then the last one, the last one is going to be inventory dot sales. So let me just skip inventory dot sales in here. So it's going to be inventory dot sales, just like that. And then we're going to have inventory dot quantity. So let me just copy this and duplicate it one more time. Copy this and then paste it here. And this is going to be inventory dot this is going to be inventory dot stock underscore date, just like that. And this is going to be inventory dot this is going to be last underscore sales underscore date, just like that. So we're going to have all of that, last sales date and all of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually save this. Now let's create a route that can render this view. Okay, so I can just actually just tab this inside to show that it's under the for loop. So let's create a route that display this. So let's go back to our routes in our project. Let's go back to say our routes.py, and then in here we're going to go to inventory. So if you go to inventories, it's going to go to this URL, and in this URL what you're going to do here is, instead of you're going to display it here. So instead of this importing view, you're going to import inventory list, just like that. This is going to be inventory list, and we can change the name to be inventory underscore list, and this is going to be just /. So if you go to the inventories and go /, you're going to get inventory list. So let's try this out. So let's check if our server is still running. So let me just check if my server is running. So it's a bit okay. Let's check if my server is running. Yeah, it is. So let's go back to our page, and then let's try to refresh this. So we're going to go to inventory /. It's going to return to us the inventory list, and the inventory list shows us all these tables. So that's how we can display the different product. And this product is coming from the last time when we were creating a database. We added a product through the admin page. That's why we're getting this right here. So now whenever I click on this, I want to take him to a page where I can see the individual details of this product. So how do I do that? So let's go ahead and actually make that, set that up. So what we're going to do first, we're going to start by creating a route, a view for this, and then you're going to go to our inventories, and then we're going to go to views, and then we're going to set up that view. Okay, that's simple. So we're going to go to our inventory. So let's go to our inventories here, and then we're going to go to views, and then we're going to now specify that view. So let's go to our views, and then what we're going to do now, we're going to now show the different products. Now we'll just go back to here, and then we'll show what this to us. So def, I'm going to now call it I'm going to call it per underscore this is underscore, and then we're going to say product per product underscore view, just like that. And you're going to pass in request. We're going to pass in a primary key. We're going to accept the primary key because we're going to get each individual product, right? So we're going to now pass in inventory, because a user is going to go to maybe first inventories /1. So that one is going to be the primary key that we're going to use to filter our database. That's why I'm accepting a parameter called an argument called primary key called pk. So we're going to go to our product. We're going to go to get. You're going to go to this function called get object of /. So now we need to import this from shortcuts. So we're going to go to shortcuts, and then okay, Django Visual Studio Code has already imported that for us. So we're going to go to get object of /. This will make sure that whenever an object doesn't exist, we throw a 404 error. Okay, this to avoid our website from crashing or doing anything not expected. So we're going to pass in our inventory database. We're going to say primary key, and we're going to say primary key, just like that. So this is going to go ahead and filter our database and return to us a product with that primary key, and we're going to store it in a variable called inventory. So great. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and actually create a context, and then we're going to go ahead and create a context. So we're going to go ahead and actually go pass it in here. I'm going to go inventory. In inventory, I'm going to pass in inventory, to our context, and then you're going to simply go ahead and actually render. So return render, and you're going to pass in request, and then you're going to pass in the template. So going to pass in template is going to be inventory / is going to be inventory / is going to be called par underscore product .html. So underscore par product.html, and then you're going to pass in that context right here. So context, and you're going to context is going to be equals to that context that you have passed it in there. So context equals to that context right here. So now that we have this setup, let's go back to our templates here, and let's create another template called par underscore product, right? Par product .html. So let's create that product, and I'm folder par product.html. Let's go ahead and actually extend the template, that base layout template. So it's going to be extends, and then it's going to be to first black, and then it's going to be layout.html, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and actually bring block content here. So it's going to be called block content, and then you're going to go ahead and actually end that block content is end block, just like that. So end block, you're going to end that block. So now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and actually begin to write our code. So we have content section, and this is going to be from our custom CSS. So we're going to have our content section. Now we're going to display some Bootstrap cards to display our different products. So I'm going to have a row. So I'm going to create this row, and then I'm going to now pass in another classes that I want. So I want mx to be -auto, and then I want justify to justify my justify content. So justify content center. So I want to create a row, and I want to justify every of my elements to be at the center. So inside of this, you can go ahead and actually create our Bootstrap cards. So I'm going to create a class. I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to create a class of card -m. I'm going to create a class of card. Now I'm going to provide in other attributes. So m, I'm going to give it a margin of 4, and then I'm going to give it and I'm going to give it a bit of style, and the style is going to be width, and the width is going to be it's going to be 800 rem, just like this, just like that. So now we have created this card. Now we can go ahead and actually fill the content of this card. So this card is going to have the following. So it's going to have a div, and then this div is going to have a class of card -body. So card -body, and just like that. And then inside of the card body, you're going to have a h5, and the h5 is going to h5, and you're going to have a class. Going to have a class of I'm going to have a class of card -title, just like that. And then card title, and then I want to center this as well. So I want to say text -center, just like that. And in here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this. So let me just display the product name. So this is going to be product name. Just in a second, I'll explain to you just more about this. So now we're going to also have a another div here, and this div is going to have a class of text center, and this is going to have a style. So I'm going to now give it a bit of font. So I'm going to say style, and I'm going to say font -size, and the font size is going to be of type 30 pixels. So 30 pixels, just like that. And what you're going to simply do for this, and then in this div you're going to give a span. This is going to be a span, and then the span is going to have different I'm going to be using font awesome. So for now I'm going to skip this, and I'll come back to this just in a second. So let me just leave it there for now. And then I'm going to have a h3 tag here, and it's going to have a class of text -center, just like that. And in here, what we're going to display the inventories, right? Because we have passing that inventory to our context, so we're going to going to pass inventory.name, just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and actually save this. Now let's create a route for this to work. So let me go to our routes here, and I'm going to copy this and repeat it again. So I'm going to copy this, make sure that you keep a comma here, and then down, and then you paste this right here. So this is going to be called let's import the product. So it's going to be called the view is going to be product view. And then let's check if it's called a product view. Yeah, a product view. And then I'm going to go in here, and then I'm going to call it underscore product, just like that. So now if you save this, and I'm going to go call it underscore hyphen, let's just call it product, just like that. So inventory / product. So that's how we're going to do it, and we're going to keep the / here. So now we can go ahead and actually save that. So the / should be, I think should be at the end of it, so just put it here, and then we can go ahead and actually save that. So now you can check if our development server is running. Yeah, it's running. So let's try to go to inventory, then / product, press enter, and let's see what we get back. We get back a type error, per product view missing one required argument primary key. So great, we're missing one required argument primary key, and the reason for this is that we need providing the primary key in order to get access to this page, right? Because for you to display, for you to get a product, you need to know which product that it is that you want to get. So now we need to provide in a primary key for this to be able to work, and to provide in the primary key is just going to be easy. So what we need to do is that we need to go to our URLs. So go to our URLs here, and then our URLs, what you're going to do is just going to now provide in here, we're just going to provide in the primary key here. So we can call this, we can call it per underscore product. So and then you provide in the product, and then the product is going to be a primary key, right? So providing we just have to say greater than and less than sign symbol, and we have to say int, and then sorry, so this is going to be int and then pk. So this is going to be the primary type is going to be of type int. That's basically what we need to do. So we need to go ahead and actually save this, and then if you go to product / and then the product's id, it should take you to this page. Okay, so let's go to, let me just go back here, and then you have to say just type it here, underscore product, and I'm going to go for /1. So we press enter, and you can display we get a 44 that is not found. So what's the product ID? I really don't know the product ID, but for now let's try to fix this so that you can, let's try, let me try one more, let's try 0, and then let's see let me try in 0. Let's say, I don't know if 0 is going to work, so /0, we get a 444. Let's try 1. Yeah, so we get back 1. So if you press in product /1, you can see we get back just this right here. So now we're going to add in more further items. So we're also going to be using font awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually see how we can use font awesome within our templates. So first, what we need to do is that we need to go back into our project, into our layout template. In our layout template, we need to import, we need to include a certain URLs for this to work. So let me just get this from my GitHub page. So let me just go here, and then let me just get this from my GitHub page. So I'm going to go to in templates, and I'm going to layout, and then I'm going to get that from here. So it's just going to be here, font awesome. So I'm going to copy this, copy it, and then paste it in my, so I'm going to go to layout.html, and I'm going to paste it right here. So I'm going to paste it right here, and this is just some font awesome font awesome stuff for this to work. So you can just pause the video, type out this, or just tell me, I'll place it in the description if you guys want it. So this is some font awesome, or you can just go to online and search for some font awesome CDN, and there you'll be able to get it. So great, we can go back to our product, and into our product, what you can go ahead and to do is just customize this so you can be able to display the different font awesome styling that I want to display. So instead of a span here, what you're going to do, you're going to keep an eye, and just like this, close that up, and this is going to have some classes, and you're going to have a class, and the class is going to be as follows. The class is going to be fb, and then fa /product, and then -hunt. So you can even go to online and then search for font awesome, and then you can search for font awesome stuff there. So just like that. So you're going to go to fb, and then higher, then space, and then fa product -hunt, just like that, and you save it, and you can go back here in here, and then if you refresh, you can see that font awesome styling will be there right here. So you can even go ahead and search for font awesome. Let's go to here, search for font awesome, and then you can just get font awesome, and you can search for different icons that you want. So you can just click on this. So clicking on this will bring you to this page, and then you can search for the different items that you want to different icons that you want. So it's very fairly simple. So this just loads up. You can search for different fonts that you want. So you can search for a font here, just say product, maybe product, just like this. You can search for it, and then it should show you the different fonts that you want. So you can see the different fonts here. So I actually got it from, so you can just click on this and this will take you to a page where you can get the code for that font. So you can see in here you can just go and actually copy this HTML and go and paste it in your code, and then that should also work for you fine. So you can just paste it here and then that should also work for you. So that's how you get the font awesome to your code. So yeah, so how do you display the other fields for this form? So let me just make sure I keep a space to know that each card is different. So I'm just going to copy this and then you can duplicate it for a couple of times for different products. So paste it a couple of times. So let me just go back here and then try to edit it. So this is going to be for our product name. The next one is going to be for quantity in stock. So this is going to be quantity in stock. So let me just customize this to make it quantity in stock, and this is going to be a capital S. So quantity in stock, it will be product dot quantity underscore in underscore stock, just like that. So it's going to be displayed the quantity in stock, and then the font awesome is going to be this is going to be warehouse. So it's going to be let's change it to be warehouse. So you can actually search for different fonts on font awesome, but this is the fonts that I have chosen and that I'm going to be using just to save time. But you guys already know how the process works, so you can go ahead and get more fonts if you want. So the other one is going to be product quantity sold. So this will be quantity sold. So it'll be quantity sold. So this will be product, this will be quantity underscore sold, just like that. Make sure you get the spelling right. So quantity sold, and this is going to display the quantity of that product. So this is going to be warehouse. Okay, so this is going to be warehouse. So it's going to be warehouse, just like that, FA warehouse. And then make sure, I think I have an error here with my this is going to be there, and this is going to, okay, I think I made an error, so I forgot the strings, right? So make sure you keep that double quote right there, and then we can go ahead and the next one is going to be price per item. So we're going to be price per, so we're going to be price per, and then I'm going to actually display the name of that product here. So it's going to be price per, and this is going to be price per inventory dot name. So it's going to be the inventory dot name there, and then make sure that I close off this. So yeah, there's a bit of error there. And so it's going to be product name, and then it's going to be this is going to be cost. This is going to be cost, inventory dot cost per underscore item, just like that. So we can go the other one is going to be sales or revenue. So it's going to be sales or revenue. So it's going to be here, and it's going to be sales or revenue. So sales or revenue, and you're going to display sales or revenue here. So it's going to be what you're simply going to use this person here, sales. So inventory dot sales, and we can go. The next one is going to be stock date. So it's going to be here. Just going to copy this and we say stock date, and then it's going to be stock underscore date. So now that we have that, the last one is going to be last sales date. So it's going to be delete all of this and then say last sales date, just like that. And this is going to be last underscore sales underscore date. So last sales date, and then that's all we need. So that's all we need for this to work. So we can just go ahead and save this, and then we can just go here, and then we can come back here and then try to refresh this, and we can see we have the products there. So let me just try to do a hard refresh. Okay, it's not positioned the way I want it. So let's see what the error is. So let's check to see where the error is. I think I've made a mistake somewhere. Yeah guys, I think I spot what the error is. So this is going, let's go back to our page here. This is going to be CRUD title. Okay, so this is going to be CRUD title. So let me go ahead and select all of this. So let me just go ahead and select all of this. I'm going to use the multi select tool, select all of this, so it's refusing to select all of them, but I don't know why. So let me just, this is the CRUD title, and then I'm going to exit that, and I'm going to select for the rest. It's going to be CRUD. Just going to be CRUD, okay, not cut, okay. Just select that and then save that. So let's try again to refresh this, and then you can see it's still being misplaced. So let's try to figure out what the error is. Okay, I think there is one more error that I found out, and this is the error here. We forgot to close this, a bit tricky to find out, but just save that, and I hope that solves all our errors. So I'm just going to refresh, and yeah, that solves all our errors, and now our products display properly. Now you can see we have some errors here with the quantity in stock and quantity sold. The stuff the font awesome don't display properly. So let's go ahead and try to tackle that problem. So it's going to be, let me just check it from my other code that I have written previously, and this is going to be this is going to be FA, this is going to be FS rather, so FS. And the good thing is you just search on Font Awesome official website to get the best link. So this is going to be, and this is going to be an FS, and for price per inventory we're just going to say $. So this is going to be the $. So this is going to delete this and then say dollar hyphen and then sign, just like that. So $, and then you're going to, for the other one is going to be again $, again. So I'm just going to copy this and then paste it here again. So just paste it here, and then the next one is just going to be calendar. So the time is going to be calendar. So this is going to be an FS, and then FS, and then this is going to be an FSFA dash calendar, and then dash out, just like that. And then even for this one will be going to be a calendar. So I'm just going to go ahead, copy this one and then paste it here again. So it's going to be FA and then calendar. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it here as well, Ctrl V, and make sure that you save all of that and go back to the website and refresh one more time, and you can see it has all been updated. So this one has not been updated properly. Let's check what's wrong. So FS and then FA dash calendar hyphen dash all. So why is that not reflecting here? So these two, so let me just check, maybe I got the spelling wrong or something. So it's going to be calendar. So this is actually an actual A, so I made an error there. It's an A, and here also is an A. So let me just go back and then I refresh that one more time. You can see all of that shows up. So now we have all of this link and everything is being displayed properly. Now one more thing, that is, if I log out of the system and I try to go to inventory, by my logic, a person should be logged in before you can be able to access the admin page, but I'm able to log in even without being authenticated. So how do I solve that problem? So now that's easy to solve. So what you need to go back, to your views, and in your views what you need to do is that you need to go ahead and actually add in a certain login required for this to work. So you need to add in the login required function. So let's go to our views. If you go to our views and then go to views here, and then what you need to import, something. So you need to import from django.contrib.outDecorator. So from django.contrib.out.decorators, you're going to be importing login required. So if you come in here, you're going to use the decorator, and if you know what a decorator is, I have a whole series on my YouTube channel that talks about decorators. So decorator is simply a method, that a function that takes in a callable as an input and returns a callable as an output. So that's basically what login decorators are. So I have a whole series on decorators. So if you're interested in decorators, check out my YouTube channel and watch this whole series on decorators, and you can create your own decorators from scratch. So this login required, make sure that you're required before you can be able to access this page. So if you go back in here again and then you try to refresh this, if you're not authenticated, it's going to bring you to the login page. You're going to authenticate yourself, admin 123.5, and then you're going to go to login. After now being authenticated, you bring it to this page. Now if I click on this right now, I can go to each individual product. Now if I click on this, it should take me to each individual product page. So how do I do that? So let's go back to our templates, and then we can now set that thing to work for us. So what we need to do, we need to go to our templates and then go to inventory list. So let's go there. So let's go to our product template here, and then we can go to inventory list. So go to templates, and then go to inventory list. So in here, what we need to do, we need to keep something here for this to work. So whenever you click on each of these products, it should take you to a page where you can be able to access this product. So you're going to keep some JavaScript here on click. So I'm going to keep on click here, and this is going to be, sorry, it's not actually inside of the file, so it's going to be on click. So on click, what it's going to do is going to take you this page. What you're going to do is going to say window location, and then you're going to say the location is going to be the following. So window.location, you're going to keep in backticks here. So you're going to keep in some backticks here for this to work. So we're going to keep some backticks, and this is going to be a code block. So it's going to be like this, and then it's going to have the following. So we have a URL, and then you're going to have URL, and then quotes, and then _product, product, and then you're going to pass in the product ID. So inventory.id. So this is going to be the primary key. So we're going to go to this route, which is if you go to our route, this is going to be the route it's going to go to, and now it's going to go into, it needs to provide a primary key, right? Because this route expects a primary key right here. So the primary key is what you have specified to be the inventory.id. So that's all we need to do. So if you go back to our web page and try to refresh this, wait for it to refresh, and if I click on this, let me just click on it, and it should take me to the inventory, the details of that specific page. So that's all we need to do for that thing to work. So next tutorial, we're going to go ahead and talk about the update and delete functionality, and also how to add and also how to add new products into the system. So guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to go ahead and write the other parts of the CRUD functionality. You're going to write the update, the delete, and the add functionality. So let's get started. So we're going to go ahead and actually write the update, the delete, and then the add functionality to our database. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is what we have reached so far. We have been able to do the login and then the logout, and also have been able to do the individual product section. So now functionality for users to be able to add products to the database without having to go to the admin page. The users can also do that, but through the admin page. Now we want to create a form for the users to be able to do that without having to visit the admin page. So let's get started. So this is where we ended it from last time. So I'm going to go into for us to be able to create this, first of all, we need to create a form that the users will be able to fill, and after filling the form, then they'll be able to add that product, that detail into the database. So let me just close this for now. I'm just going to close all of this for now. So we need to inside here, we need to create a file called form.py. So I'm going to go here and create a forms.py. They're going to keep all our forms. Okay, so inside of forms.py, we're going to do the following. So we're going to say from Django.forms.form, just type .forms. You're going to be importing the model form, just like that. And then you're going to also import our models here. So from .models, you're going to be importing inventory, just like that. And then you're going to create a class here. You're going to call add inventory. Let's call it add inventory. And then this add inventory form, and then this is going to be it's going to inherit from model form, and it's going to have the following. So we're going to have a class, a meta class here. So we're going to have a class. We're going to call it meta, just like this. And then it's going to have model, and the model is going to be inventory model, and then it's going to have fields, the field that the form is going to have. So the form is going to have the following fields. It's going to have the name field, it's going to have the, let me skip the single quote, it's going to have cost per item. So this actually came from our database. So these fields will be displayed as input for the user to be able to fill in, and then this will be the quantity _in stock, and this is going to be quantity sold, just like that. So now we have that. We can just go ahead and save that. So we can go back to our views. In our views, we can import that form right here. So from .forms import add inventory form. So great. So now that we have that, we need to create a view for this to work. So we need to go into our views. We need to go into down here. We just scroll down. I'm just going to scroll down, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually write that functionality. So here I'm going to scroll down here, and in here I'm going to just go ahead into def, and then it's going to add underscore product, just like that, and I'm going to accept request here. So now we're going to accept request here. What I'm going to do, I'm simply going to go ahead and say if request dot method, if the request method is a post method, so it's going to be a post method. Make sure you keep it all capital. So if the request method is a post method, what you're going to do, you're going to now create a form. So I'm going to call it add underscore, let's call it add form. And then add form, what you're going to do is simply going to go in, and it's going to be called add inventory form. Just create a form instance there, and you say if add form dot is underscore valid. You're going to check if the form is valid, means all the fields have been provided. You're going to say new underscore inventory. New inventory is going to be add form, and then add form, what you're going to do, that you're going to now save it, and you're going to save it, and you're going to say commit. You're not going to commit this, you're going to say commit is going to be false. So we're going to prevent this from being committed. So now we're going to do new inventory is going to be new inventory dot sales, and the sales is going to be we're going to now convert this into float. You're going to say float, and you're going to say add form, you're going to dot data. You're going to get, now this is going to be a dictionary. So in the dictionary you're going to get the cost underscore per underscore item. You're going to get the cost per item, and you're going to multiply that by, let me just multiply that by float. You're going to get another float, convert another thing into float, and this is going to be add form dot data, and then you're going to get the data that you want. This is going to be quantity underscore sold, just like that. So because for us to get the price, you have to get the item per unit multiplied by the quantity sold, and that's going to return to us the price of that specific product, right? So let me just tap some more lines here. So what you're going to do after doing that, you're going to now go new inventory dot save, just like that, and we can save that new inventory right there, and then we can now prompt the user with a message that the product has been saved. Now for let's leave that message out. We'll be back to dealing with that message. So we're going to now redirect the user to the front page, which is going to be the inventory page. So it's going to be / inventory / just like that. You're going to return the user to inventory. What if the request is not a post request? What if the user wants to receive the form, right, which is the initially what the person does? If you go to a website, you issue a get request, and that returns to you the form, right, to display the form. So I'm going to say else. You're going to now do add form. It's going to be the add form instance. So just like that, and then you're going to now return a template. So you're going to say return render, and you're going to pass in a request, and you're going to pass in a name. So it's going to be inventory underscore it's going to be inventory underscore add.html. Then you're going to provide in the context, and the context is going to be a dictionary. You can just pass in a dictionary. It's going to say form, and this is going to be of type add form, just like that. So that's all we need to do. So now let's go ahead and actually create this here. So let's go to our templates here. So we're going to go to here, and then we're going to add in a new template, and it's going to be called inventory underscore add.html. So now that we press enter, and then you begin to extend this template. So we put in a code block. It's going to say extends, and then you're going to pass in two dots, and then /layout.html. So great. So now we're going to have the block content. We're going to have the block content, and make sure that you end that block content, just like that. So now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and actually render that form in there. So the form, to render the form, is going to be similar to the way we rendered the logout form. It's going to be a very similar approach. So we can just go to inventor here, logout, and then we can see a sample. So let's go here and I take login rather. So you're going to have something very similar to this. So I'm just going to actually copy all of this and just paste it there. So I'm just going to copy all this, go to here, and then let me just replace all of this to save time. Yeah, that's what we need. So the form is going to be form, and then yeah, that's all we need. And this is going to be add inventory, and then you're going to say add inventory, just like that. And that's all we need to provide in this form. So that's all we need. So I can just go Control and S. So now we need to provide a route to display this, right? So we're going to go to our views here, and then we can just copy all of this. I'm going to copy all of this. I'm going to select all of this properly, copy it, and then it's going to be a comma, and then paste it here. So it's going to be add product. So it's going to be add underscore inventory / and this is going to be add underscore inventory, just like that. So we need to save this, and now we can go back to our web page here, and then we can go to add underscore inventory. So press enter, and this will display to us the form. So we have a template. So we have an error here. So let me just try to, why is this saying that per product view required one positional argument? So let's see where the error is. It says that per product view missing one required argument, primary key. So let me just save that, but you're not requiring any argument here. So let's try to see what the error is. So the first thing is that you have to make sure that this user is also logged in before they can add a product. So you have to add in the login required parameter. So this is going to go to add product, and let's, okay, I know where the error is. We have to go to inventory. We didn't actually import this, so import this and then actually replace it here. Okay, and then that should be done for us. So that's what we need to fix. So make sure you keep a comma right here. Yeah, that's what we need to do. So add inventory. So let me just Control Z. I think there is an M here, so let me delete that M, and then that's all we need to do. So we can go back to the website and then try to refresh this, and then that should return to us the form to fill to add in a new product. So if you're adding a new product right now, let's say jackets, and then cost per item, maybe each jacket is 500, and then quantity in stock we have 14 stock, and then we have sold, let's say we have sold 10. So that the cost, the sales now should be, the revenue should be 500, right? So if I save this, it doesn't redirect us. So let's see why it doesn't redirect us. So it doesn't redirect us to the page that we want. So it should redirect us to inventory. It doesn't do that. So let's try to see if this is going to be inventory. It doesn't redirect us to inventory. Why is that the issue? So let's see. I think we forgot to import redirect. So I need to redirect. It's already imported by Visual Studio Code. So make sure that you import redirect whenever it's not imported. So the login, I don't need this here, so I'm just going to remove this. So this, make sure you import redirect there, and then it should redirect you to / inventory, and then inventory. Yeah, that's what we need to do. And let's see. You are saving the database, and then you are directing the user to the / there. So we have simply said save, and then you have said commit it to false, because we don't want to commit this to database yet, because we want to update some fields here. So that's why you have said commit it was false, and you have been able to update the fields, which is a sales field, and you have calculated the sales using the cost per item, and then the quantity sold, and then we multiply those two values, we get the sales, and then now we can do inventory.save, and then we direct the user to / inventory, just like that. But now if I go back to, let me try to go back to my product page here. So if I go to inventory, I see only one product, means it hasn't been yet added. Why is that the case? Now whenever I try to add a form, it doesn't get added to the database, and I spot the error for that. So what we need to do in here, we need to provide in the form. So it can be a request. It's going to be, sorry, the data is going to be, we need to provide in the data. It's going to be request. It's going to be request request.post. So the reason why we were trying to add it and it wasn't being added is that the data the field were completely empty, so there was nothing to add. So that's why you have to now go ahead and actually say the data is going to be request.data, and then we check if it's valid, we calculate the sales, and then we save that to the database, and then we redirect the user to the return to the inventory page. If it's not a post request, then the user is not trying to add into the database, so we're going to create a form instance with no data included, because we just return the form to the user, and then that's that. You're going to return this specific template. template. So let's check if our template is server is running. Yeah, it is. So let's try to go ahead and add sneakers, and let's say the price for each sneaker cost per item is 200, and the quantity in stock, when we have 50 in stock and you have sold 10, so the sales should be 2000. So if you go submit this, and you can see we have sneakers right here. If I click on sneakers, I can have the details for that sneakers. So that's how we write the functionality to be able to add a product to our database. So now let's write the functionality to be able to delete a product. So let's go ahead and actually write the functionality to be able to delete a product. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go into my views, and in here I'm going to now create a new function. So I'm going to call def, and then this is going to be called delete inventory. So just like that. And then I'm going to now pass in a request. I need a request, and for you to be able to delete a product, you need that product's primary key in order to get it from the data. The primary key attribute here, primary key argument here. So we're going to now go to do inventory. We're going to get the inventory, which is going to be and then the inventory is going to be get object or 44. You're going to pass in our inventory database, and now primary key is going to be the primary key that we got from the user. And then what we're going to simply do, we're going to inventory dot delete, just like that. We're going to delete that inventory, and then you're going to now send a message to the user. So it's going to be now we haven't done this message, so I'm just going to return, and then you're going to redirect the user. You're going to redirect the user to inventory. So I'm going to pass in here, it's going to be /inventory / just like that. So now this will be able to enable us to be able to delete a given user. So let's go ahead to the URLs, and let's try to add this to our URLs. So go to our URLs, and then you're going to add in that delete functionality right here. So I'm going to simply place a comma in here, sorry, a comma in here, not a full stop, and then simply copy this and then simply replace it here. So this is going to be just delete. So I'm just delete, and then you're going to take in now the primary key of that delete. So it's going to be int of type p primary key, just like that. And that's how we're taking the primary key, and then this is going to be delete underscore inventory, and you've also imported it from here. So if delete inventory has been imported, and this is to, instead of delete, it's going to, instead of add, is going to be delete, just like that. So that's all we need for that to work. So we can go ahead and actually save that. So how do we create a button for this to work? So there are no links for us to click, or so let's go ahead and actually go to per product, and then in per product below here I can keep a link for the delete functionality. So I'm going to create an anchor link, and then it's going to have it's going to go keep a code block here, and it's going to go to URL, and it's going to go to URL for delete. Let me just check what I call it here. So let's go to URLs, and it's going to call delete. We call it delete, and delete, and then let's go back here, and delete, you need to provide in the primary key. So it's going to be inventory.id, just like that, and this is going to delete this specific product. So we're going to call it these things here. We can call it delete, let's call it delete inventory. Let's call it inventory. So I'm get a spelling of inventory right, and then we can keep some classes here. So we can keep some classes. Let's keep the classes here. So this is going to be a class. It's going to be btn dash danger, and then btn dash sm. There's a small button, so I'm going to click save that. Now we can go back to our products page. So I'm going to refresh this, and then I'm going to click on this product, and let's see, I got an error here, reverse for delete not found. So this actually not, I made an error. This is not delete, but it's supposed to be delete inventory, which is this the name of this route rather. So I made an error there, so I'm going to pass it here, save that there, and then just try to refresh my page again. And now that works. So if I go back down here, I can see I have this delete. So if I click on delete, it's going to delete this product, and then it's going to redirect us to the, if we delete the product, it's going to redirect us to the inventory page. So I can go ahead and actually click on delete. It's going to delete that product. You see that product is deleted and it has been redirected to this page here. So great, everything works as expected. Now let's go ahead and write the functionality to be able to add to update a product. Now to be able to update a product, what we need to do, we need also one thing I forgot here. So we need to be logged in before you can be able to delete a product, right? So login required here, so let's not forget that. So for our update functionality, we're going to now write a form for updating our product. So let's go back here and then click on and then go to forms here. So go to forms. Sorry, made an error. So forms, and in forms here, we're going to write a form to update a product. So what we're going to do, create a class here. So we're going to create a class and we call it update inventory, and then form. So it's going to inherit from model form, just like this, model form, and we're going to inherit from model form. Also, now we're going to pass in the meta class here. So we're going to pass in meta, and we're going to have a class, and the class it's going to have a model, and the model is going to be inventory, and then you're going to have fields, the fields that are going to be displayed on the update form, and this is going to be a list. So we're going to pass in the fields. You're going to have a name field. You can update the name of the product, you can update the cost per item, you can update the quantity _ stock, and then you can update the quantity _ sold, just like that. I'm not going to update the sales, so I'm going to leave these two fields just like that. So now we can go back to our inventory, and in here what you're simply going to do is create a function def update _ inventory. So we're going to accept the request, and we're going to accept a primary key, right? So let me just go and you're going to accept again the primary key here. So what you're going to do is you're going to now first get that inventory. So you're going to say inventory. So inventory is going to be get object 404. We pass in our database as inventory, and the primary key is the one that you're getting from the user. Test this primary key, and then we're going to repeat the same processes. So we're going to say if we're going to create a form here, you're going to say if request dot method, if the request method is equals to a post method, means the user wants to update a form, right? Because you make a post request when you want to update something. You're going to create an update form, and this is going to be equals to the following. Is going to be inventory, it's going to be update inventory form, and this should be imported from forms. It should be imported, so it has already been imported for us by Visual Studio Code. So now we can go ahead and say if updated form dot is _ valid, means that if checking if the form is valid, and then if the form is valid, you're going to do the following. You're going to get inventory dot name is going to be equals to the update form the data, and then you're going to get the name field. So you're going to get the name. Now you're going to repeat this for all the other fields that you're going to update. So inventory dot quantity in stock, this will be our update form, the update form dot data dot you can get quantity in stock. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it here. These are going to be the same. So update form, this is going to be update form dot data dot field. So let's see why it says update form is not defined. So this is update, so it's actually a small u here. So update form, okay, my bad. So I'm going to go to inventory dot quantity sold. So in quantity sold is going to be update form dot data, and then I'm going to get the quantity sold field. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in here, and then I'm going to get the inventory dot this is the cost per item. Is going to be update form dot data dot, I'm going to get the copy this, and then I'm going to paste it here. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. So paste it in here, and then I'm going to now finally get the inventory dot sales. So inventory dot sales, and this is going to be you're going to take the float of the inventory dot cost per item, and then I'm going to multiply this by going to create a float again. It's going to be inventory dot quantity sold. So we're going to multiply those two, and then I'm going to now simply going to save this to my database, inventory dot save, just like that. And I'm going to save this into my database. After it saves, I'm going to return redirect. I'm going to return the user to / inventory / just like that. And then else, if it's not a post request, so we're going to do an else here. So I'm going to else we're going to do the following. We're going to say update form is going to be update inventory form, just like that. Create an simple instance, and I'm going to return render, and I'm going to pass in the request, and I'm going to pass in the form name, which is going to inventory / and then it's going to be inventory underscore update.html. Then I'm going to pass in the form here, and the form is going to be I'm going to pass in the context, which is going to be a dictionary. So you can say form, and then the form context is going to be dictionary. So it's going to be update form, just like that. Update form, just like that. So now you can also pass in this as a context, so you can cut this from here and assign it to a context. So you can do what you can say context, let me see, context, and the context is going to be a simple dictionary, which is going to be this right here. And then you can say context be that context right there. So this is going to be context. So great. So you can also pass in the plain dictionary here directly, or you can create a dictionary called context and pass in that context right there. So now that we have done that for the update functionality, let's go ahead and actually create a template for that. So let's go create a template called update inventory update. So let's go in here and then create a template, and I'm going to call it inventory update this is going to be .html. So press enter, and I'm simply going to go to the add form, and I'm going to select all of this, copy it, and I'm going to update, and I'm going to paste that in there. And this is going to be update, and then this is going to be update, simple. Or you can even decide to use the same forms if you want, but I just changed it for my own users. So just save that, and then that's all we need to do. We need to now go to the URLs and providing a route for that. So I'm going to copy this, Control Z. I'm going to copy that and paste that in here. This should be update, and then providing the primary key, and it's going to call update inventory, and make sure that update inventory is imported here. So update inventory is imported here, and then let's change the name to be, instead of delete, it should be update. So let's create a form, a field, a click where the user can click and go to that specific page. So let's go to product, and then I'm going to simply copy this, and then I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to call it this is going to be, change this to be update. So it's going to be update, and it's going to go to this, and then providing the primary key as expected, and this is all we need. So this is going to be update, and then I'm going to change the Bootstrap classes. This is going to be change this to be there's some Bootstrap classes outline. The success, we can leave it as success like that, and then you can save that. So now I want the update should come before, the update button should come before the delete button, right? So I'm going to save that, and then I can go back, check if my server is running. The server stopped running, so it says that let me just stop this again, clear it, and then I can see where the error is coming from. So we just reset it. Okay, it's running fine. So you can just go to refresh this page, and if I click on this product, it's going to bring me to this page. If I click on update, it's going to bring me to this form. Now the form data, the form is initially empty. Now what if I want to fill this form prior to updating? So now that's very simple to do. So what I want to do, I can just go to my inventories. I can go to inventories here, so I can just close some of this up. So just close this, and just go to inventories, and what I want to do before I return the form to the user, I want to fill the form, right? So I want to fill the form with some instance. So I'm going to say instance, and then the instance is going to be inventory. So just like that, and I can save it. So now if I go back to my website and I try to refresh this, you can see it has already been filled with the inventory before I can update. So let me just try to update to be 20. So if I go ahead and actually update inventory, it didn't redirect me to any page. So let me just try to go back and see why it didn't redirect me. So let's see why it didn't get redirected. So it redirects inventory, and then I can go to I want to direct to the product too. So par, and then I'm going to say par underscore product, per product, and then I'm going to say per product, and it requires a primary key, right? So I'm going to say, and then providing the primary key there, and the primary key is going to be a pk which I've got from the user. So this is going to be an f string for that to work. So f string, and then it's going to direct to inventory per product, and then the primary key, which is the same update here. So let me just try to check if why it's not being redirected. So let me just save that one more time. So the form gets saved, and then we get redirect, and we get redirected to inventory / per product, and per product is a route here. So if you go back, let me just go back to my URLs. You go to per product, this route here, that's what you're going to, and then you're going to provide the primary key, because this route here needs the primary key. So you're providing the primary key as the current product's primary key that we got from the user. So after updating a product, you're going to redirect to the individual product page, and then that's all we need to do. So yeah, that's all we need to do, and we can go ahead and okay, the product is not being updated because here, right, you see I forgot this again. So we're going to put in the data, and the data is going to be request.post, right? We need the data to in order to update the form, and if the form is updated with the data, now this way we can go ahead and actually save it to a database and redirect the data and return the user to this specific page. Okay, so now if I go back to my inventories, if I go back here and I try to refresh, now I can click on this again, brings me to this page. I can click on update inventory, and I can change this to be 20, and I click on update inventory, and this is going to now return me to this page, and it tells me that not found. So it says a product per product, this is not found. So let's try to check if we got the route right. So it's going to be per product, and then underscore inventory per product, and then the primary key. So let's try to see why we're getting that error. So this is per product, so make sure I copy that, and then I paste it in here. So yeah, I made an error there. So let me just go back. So let me just change it to 20 and then update, and then it's going to redirect me to this page, and you can see quantity sold has been updated to 20. And even if I go back to the inventory page, I can just go back to the inventory page, refresh this, I can see it has been updated, and the prices revenue has been calculated accordingly. So great, everything seems to work. So we have the update functionality, the delete functionality, and everything in between. So now everything there seems to work. Now what I want to do in here, I want to create I want to go back to my product page, and then here I want to give a margin bottom of 3. So I want to give it a bit of space there. So if I go to and I go to refresh this, go to sneakers here, and you can see that there's a bit of margin there. Yeah, that's what I wanted, and that's good. So in the next page, what you're going to do in the next tutorial is you're going to now add in the different graphs and other stuff, and then we can go ahead and actually add in these links here. So let's do that before we end this tutorial. So I'm going to go to layout.html. So I'm going to go to my layout.html, and in here we will say if the user is authenticated, and if that's true, what you're going to do here, if the user is authenticated, is what you're going to now display some fields. So what you first need to do is going to add product. So we're going to add inventory. So add inventory is going to go to this URL, add inventory, this one here, copy it, and then per product, layout.html, and then make sure I paste it here. So paste it there, and this is going to be add inventory, just like that. And then yeah, that's what we need to do, add inventory. And this I can delete this, we don't need this for now. I can just get rid of that and delete this. So you can just this page add inventory, and add inventory should come before logout. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it right here, move it there, and then tap that in. Okay, so that's all I want to do. So now the links work. So if I go back and let me try to refresh this, and you can see that link, add inventory. If I click it, it brings this page where I can add a new inventory. So let's go ahead and add a new inventory. let's add jackets, and each jacket is 400, let's say, and then quantity in stock is 30, and then we have sold for 20, and then we can just go ahead and actually add that to the database, and you can see jacket is there. If I click on this, I can get the details about that jacket. I can delete it, and I can update that jacket information. So I can just click on update. It's going to redirect me to the jacket page, and everything says the same. Yeah, so if I click on this right now, it doesn't take me anywhere. So let me just go ahead and actually fix that link. So this is just going to be a code block, and make sure we write the code block here. Sorry, delete this. It's actually here, and it's going to be $, 2 dollar signs, and it's going to be your URL, and then your URL is going to be I can keep here a single quote, and I'm going to simply return. Let me go to the URLs here, and I can simply return inventory list. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go to my layout.html and simply paste it in there. So if I go back to my website, refresh this, and if I click on this, you can see it's going to take me to the inventory page right here. So that's everything seems to work, and that's how we can be able to create our page. So in the next tutorial, we're going to go ahead and actually deal with the graphs, how to draw the graphs using Plotly, and that will be the end of this tutorial. So guys, if you like this so far, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to go ahead and complete our Django inventory management system. So in the last tutorial, I've been able to build the ability to add products and delete products, and also update products. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and write the functionality for users to be able to plot the graphs, like the graph the Plotly graphs that I said I'm going to plot. So we're going to do some data visualization mainly in this tutorial. But before we get started, let me just start up my development server so you can see where we have reached so far. So I'm just going to do an ls, and I'm going to do python 3 manage.py, and then you're going to run our development server. So now that let's just run our server, and then we can check where we have reached so far. And then from there are a couple of errors that errors that you have done that will solve, and then add some bit of messaging information, and then we'll go on to building the dashboards. So let's just wait for the server to get started. It's a bit sluggish for now. So now that the server has already started, we can just go in here and then refresh localhost at port 8000, or you can just simply click on this link, and then it should also take you to localhost at port 8000. So in here you type in your password. My password is just Prince, and my password is admin 1 2 3 4 and 5, and then you log in. So if whenever you log in here, you can see you have this we have reached so far. So I can click on this, and I can see the product information. I can update and delete the different products. Okay, so now there's something about, let me just go back to the main page. I'm just going to log out for now, and I can click on login again. So now that I'm logged out of my system, let me just show you something. You see that if I show you my code base, back to my code base again, you can see, let me just go back to my views.py, and in my views.py what you can notice is that we can see that the update functionality does not have the decorator login required, meaning that we can access this page without an update product without actually having to log into the system. Now that's a security vulnerability, and we don't want that functionality from our application. So now that I'm logged in, I'm just going to demonstrate this to you. Okay, go inventory, and then /update, and then /3 again. Let's go 3, and you can see I can update a product without having to log in. So let's go ahead. I did something that I forgot in the last tutorial, so let's go ahead and actually copy this and paste it here in order to solve that issue. So I'm just going to paste that over there. Let me just copy this one more time. So now that we have that pasted over there, now a person cannot access this page unless they are logged in. So if let me try to refresh, and it's going to probably redirect me. Let me see if the server is still running. So let's the server is still running. It's just going to reload, and then after it reloads, we can try this out again. So what if we try this out again? We can't access the update functionality without being logged in. So this will direct us to the login page, and if it redirects us to the login page, we have to provide in our credentials before we are able to update a given product. And that's how I want the functionality of the app to be. So go in there and make sure that you have this login required login underscore decorator, login required decorator there. Okay, so now if you let me try to refresh this again, you can see I can't access that page unless I'm logged in. So let me try to log in, and then I'm going to provide in here my password 2 3 4 and 5, and then I'm going to log in. and now this is going to bring me to a page after I've already logged in. So I can only access the page whenever I'm logged in, or else I can access the update page whenever I'm not logged in, and that's how we want it to be. So now that we've fixed that vulnerability, let's go ahead and actually do some messaging functionality. For example, if you update a product, it doesn't give you any notification to tell the user that the products have been updated. So that's something I want to fix. So let's go ahead and actually import this. So I'm going to say from django.contrib, I'm going to go ahead and import messages. Okay, from django.contrib, make sure you import messages, and you're going to use messages in a couple of places. So if a person adds a new product, you want to send him or her a message telling him or her that the product has been added. So I'm going to come up here. Before I return, I'm going to send a message out. So I'm going to say messages dot, and then I'm going to do success. So I'm going to send a success message. So there are different classes of message you can send. There is a debug, there is info, there is success, there is warning, and then there is error. So these are just very similar to the Bootstrap classes and work in a very similar fashion rather. So I'm going to pass in a request here. I'm going to say request, and then I'm going to pass in the message I want to say. So I'm just going to say successfully. I'm going to say successfully added. Let's just keep uppercase added product. So if a person has a new product, you want to inform him that the product has been successfully added. Now, how do we display these messages to the user? Okay, so now to display these messages to the user, we have to update our template file here. So let's go into our templates, our template, and we'll go into layout.html, and in layout.html we need to make some changes for this to be able to reflect and display the message to the user. So this is what we're going to do. So I'm just going to scroll down and scroll down until we're just above the body tag, and that's where I want to keep the messages. So what I'm going to do is just simply create a code block here. So I'm going to create a code block. So this is going to be a fork of say an if statement. If messages, I'm going to say if messages, and then we'll make sure that we have to close that if. Okay, so we're going to check if messages, and then make sure that you end that if statement there. So you have to say end if, just like that, and then in there you have to go inside of this code block, and then inside of this code block you have to create the following. You have to say for message in messages. So for message in messages, what you want to do, we want to make sure that we end that for first before we continue this. So just say end and then for, just like that. So we end that for loop, and then inside of this for loop, for each message you want to create a div, and in this div you're going to give it a certain class. Okay, so I'm going to give the following classes. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to say class, and the class is going to have the following. It's going to have alert, and then it's going to be alert dash, and then you're going to get the class of that message, which is going to be message tag. Okay, now this is very similar to Bootstrap, as I've explained to you earlier on. So it's going to be message, sorry, it has to be here, it has to be message dot tag, just like that. Message dot sorry, I'm typing the wrong place. Message dot tags, just like that. So for each message you're going to get the message tag, and I also want to keep another class here, a margin top. I'm going to give the margin top of 4. Okay, so it's very similar to the way we do alert dash info, alert dash something in alert dash success in Bootstrap, right? So in this case you're going to get the message tags, which are going to be of type success, info, and other, which as you have specified here, right? So that's what you're trying to do, and for that you're going to display the message. You're going to just keep a code block and then display that message to the user. So just like that, message. So that's how we can make a messaging system in Django. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this and then check if my development server is running. Yeah, it is running. So now we can go ahead and actually add an inventory. So let me just say jacket, let's say shoes or something. So shoes cost per item, let's say each shoe is 400, and then the quantity in stock, we have 40 in stock, and we have sold 20 so far. I'm just going to go ahead and actually add this, and the message should now pop up, and you can see the product has been successfully added. Now this is what we want. Now we want to repeat the same info, the functionality for when a person deletes a product. So when a person deletes a product, you're going to go to messages dot, and then you're going to for product, you can just delete a product. You can just I'm thinking of the right class to use for this. Let me just see. We can use success. Success is also fine, but let's find a better one to use. I think we can use success. Yeah, success is fine. So we're going to say success, then you're going to pass in request here, the request object, and then you're going to now pass in the message. So you're going to say inventory deleted. Okay, so I think we can also use I think there is danger. I think also danger. So if a person deletes a product, we just send him the danger one, saying that the product has been deleted. Or you can also say success. It depends on you and what you want to do. Also for the updating of a product, you can also send a message to the user. Just pass this in here and then change this to be success. Just success, and then you can change the message here, inventory updated, just like that. So now that that messaging functionality is set up and it will also work, you can go ahead and feel comfortable to try this out. So we have fixed the errors that you wanted to fix. Now let's go into the main point of this tutorial, which is just to create the route to return the dashboard. Okay, to return the data that will be used to plot the dashboard. So for this we'll be using Plotly, and also we'll be using let me just show you in Google. We'll be using we'll be using Django pandas. Okay, so first of all, just go ahead and just search for Plotly Express. Okay, so in Google you can just type Plotly Express, just like that, and then search for it. Let me just keep Python, the Python, yeah, that will be good. So just click on this Plotly Express, and that should take you to the official documentation of Plotly. And if you don't know what Plotly is just a library that is used to draw graphs and other things. So if you ever come from data science background, you probably know about Plotly. We have Seaborn and other libraries, but Plotly you can use it to integrate it into web applications, and that's what you're trying to do, and that's the reason why. So the other libraries that you can use, especially JavaScript libraries like Chat.js and other Chat3D, something like that. So yeah, Chat.js. So if you aren't interested in Chat.js, we build the same application using Chat.js and Flask. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that tutorial out. But in this tutorial, I want us to learn something new. That's why we'll be using Plotly Express. So now that the Plotly website has loaded, we are going to go ahead and actually try to search for the installation. So as I say install, which will go to getting started, and from there you can find the installation link and use that to install Plotly Express. So let's just scroll down here. You can see this how you install Plotly. So I'm just going to copy this. Let me just see, let's copy this Plotly Express, and then we can use that to install Plotly. So we'll install Plotly this way. I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to go back to my terminal, and in my terminal I'm going to go ahead and actually paste this. Close the development server for now, close the development server, and then I'll clear the terminal, and then I'll paste that command over there. So you're going to press enter, and it's going to go ahead and actually install for us Plotly Express. So once that is done, we also need to install other libraries. We need to install one library called other libraries called I think it's called Django pandas. We need to install Django pandas so we can read our our models in form of a pandas data frame. And by working with pandas data frame is very simple, and I have a whole tutorial on getting started with pandas. So if you're interested in pandas, feel free to check the tutorial on pandas. It gives you the basics to understand this tutorial in general. Okay, so once that is done, let's try to see if that is done. So let me just check my development server. It's actually installing. So sorry, my terminal, you can see that it's actually going ahead there and installing that for us. So as you can see here, Plotly is being installed and it's almost getting done. So we're going to search for another library called Django pandas. Django pandas. So we're going to just search that. So what this library help us to do is help us to convert our models into a pandas data frame, and to work with pandas is very simple than running the ORM queries, which is a bit complicated. So I'm just going to use pandas. Django pandas is very simple to use. So this is official documentation. You can just go on pypy.org and search for Django pandas this way, Django pandas, and then you can go ahead and actually read the documentation. So first of all, let's make sure that we have this installed. So hopefully plotly is still installing, so let's just wait a bit. So if you look at the official documentation, you also need to install a couple of libraries before installing Django pandas. So you need to install NumPy, which is just a numeric Python library, numeric Python library that you can use for working with numeric values, arrays, and stuff like that. So if you've ever watched my videos in data science, then you're probably familiar with pandas. In machine learning, you're also probably familiar with pandas. And if you're interested in machine learning, I have a whole series on machine learning, introduction to machine learning, on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check out those videos. So we also need to install NumPy, and also we need to install pandas. So pandas, it stands for, pandas is used to work with data frames in Python. Actually, we use this commonly in data science, data analytics, and other data science related fields. So that we have to also install pandas before we can install Django pandas, because Django pandas is built on top of pandas itself and has the same commands as pandas. I mean the same syntax. Okay. So now we have a Django official already installed. We have plotly installed. So let's go ahead and actually install the following. So I'm going to go ahead and actually install NumPy. So now that we got to get NumPy first installed, and then we also want to install pandas. Okay, so copy this as well, and then go back to your terminal. Make sure you also paste that once the pandas is already, NumPy is already installed. So let's wait for NumPy to install. After NumPy is installed, we'll go ahead and actually, after NumPy is installed, we'll install pandas, and then finally we'll install Django pandas. Okay, so let's just wait for that to load up, and then I'll be back shortly. Yeah, so we already have NumPy installed. So let's go ahead and actually install pandas. So I'm going to paste the command right here to install pandas, and then I'm just going to press enter, and that will install for me pandas. So what I want to do is also install Django pandas. So I'm just going to copy that, and once pandas is done installing, we also go ahead and actually install the Django pandas, and then from there we'll begin to create our data for the dashboard. So let's just wait for this to go ahead and install. So it's already gone and installed that successfully. So I'm going to paste the code to install Django pandas. So it's going to go ahead and actually install Django pandas for us. So that is done, and we have all that installed. So great. So now that we have installed, we can go back to our code, and then we can go into our views.py. In our views.py, here is where we're going to draw the graph. Okay, so I'm going to call it a function called dashboard. Okay, I'm going to call it dashboard, just like that, and I'm going to pass in a request here, and then from here you can just write our function. But now whenever I want a user to access this page, I want the user to be logged in, so let's not forget the login required decorator. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to paste it over there. And if you know what decorators are, I have a whole series on my YouTube channel talking into going into a whole series going in depth about decorators, so feel free to check out that tutorial out. So we're just going to say inventories. I'm going to call it inventories. Okay, it is a variable called inventories. Just get that right, inventories, and it is going to be inventories inventory model dot objects.all. So I'm going to get all the objects from our database, and I'm going to create a data frame. Okay, if you know the basics of pandas, you can check out my whole I have a whole series on the basics of pandas and NumPy as well. So check out that tutorial, and it will give you a boost in understanding what you're trying to do here. So I'm going to say read. I'm going to say read underscore frame. Now we didn't even import this, so let's go ahead first and then import this for this to work. So we'll just go into Django pandas, and then we import read data frame from there. So we'll just say from Django underscore pandas.io import read underscore frame. Okay, so we're going to import this so we can be able to read our models into basically our database into a pandas data frame. Okay, so we're going to pass it in here, and you're going to pass in what you want to read. So in this case, we want to read our query into a Django data frame. So we're going to pass in our inventories here. So inventories, you're going to pass it here, just like that, inventories. So now that we have that done, we already read our data into a pandas data frame. So I'm going to go ahead and actually create the sales graph. So the first graph we're going to create is going to be called the sales underscore graph, the sales graph, and this graph is just going to be a df. We're going to group by, okay, group by, and then you can draw any graph you want. Just go and check the official documentation, and also check my YouTube tutorial. I have a simple tutorial on Django, pandas. It teaches you all about group by and all of these pandas terminologies, okay, and syntax. Okay, so we're going to go last underscore last cells, which is just a column from our models, so you can go back and check your models. So last cells date, and then you're going to group by last cells date, and you're going to say comma as index. You're going to say index is going to be index is going to be false, and then you're going to pass in another command. So this is false. Make sure you get the spelling right. Then you're going to now sort this data. So we're going to say sort is going to be false. You know this data sorted. So we're going to say sort, and it's going to be false. And then you're going to now pass. You're going to now get the cells from this data. So you're going to get cells, and then you're going to find the sum of the cells. So sum, just like that. So that will return to us the sum of the cells, and then you're going to now plot the graph. So we're going to say cells underscore graph, and this is going to be equals to, and this is going to be px. And now we need to import pandas px plotly express. So we're going to import plotly. We're going to import also plotly express. So we're going to just give some space here from, let's say import plotly, just like that. And also we're going to import plotly.express as px. Okay, you're going to import plotly express as px, and also make sure that you have plotly imported. And also you're going to import json. So we're going to import json. Now this is an inbuilt Python library, so you don't have to install it. So down here what we're simply going to do, we're simply going to say px, and the px, sorry, that's not it's actually px dot, and then you're going to say line. You're going to draw a line graph, and in here what you're going to do, we're going to pass in the cells. We're going to pass in the cells. Cells underscore graph, and then you're going to pass in the following. You're going to say x is going to be, the x-axis is going to be cells underscore graph dot last underscore cells last is cells underscore date, just like that, last cells date. And you're going to pass in the y, and the y is just going to be cells underscore graph dot cells, just like that. And you're going to pass in a title, and the title is simply going to be let's get that right. Title is just going to be, you can just say sales trend. So you can say sales trend, whatever you want to call it, sales trend, just like that. So we're going to name that sales, we're going to pass that, and we're going to say that is going to be sales trend. So let's check if you have done everything right. So we've just specified a data set you're going to work with, and data set is the data set is what you have queried from the database, and you're passing that data set here. And then you're saying the x-axis is going to be a certain column of that data set, which is going to be the last sales date, right? And then you're going to say the y-axis is going to be another column from that data frame, which is going to be the sales column. And then finally we're going to now say the title, and the title is just going to be sales trend. Now we need to pass this, and then you're going to say sales graph, and this is going to be it's going to be JSON. You're going to dump this into a JSON dot dump s, and then you're going to pass in our sales graph, and then you're going to pass in a class, a CLS, and this is going to be plotly dot utils. You're going to get the utils dot plotly JSON. Make sure this is uppercase, plotly JSON encoder, just like that. So make sure that you have that spelling right. So plotly JSON is uppercase, and then encoder. So that's all we need to do, and then we can pass this into a context and then return into the backend. So I'm going to pass this into a context, create a context, and this is going to be a simple dictionary. I'm going to be sales underscore graph, and the sales graph is going to be sales graph, just like that. And then you're going to create a context here, is going to be return, and you're going to render. I'm going to create a certain template. I'm going to call it dash just in a second, and I'm going to return that template. So I'm going to pass that template in here, even though we haven't created a template yet. So we're going to be inventories /dash dashboard dot .html, just like that. And then you're going to pass in context as the context, and this is going to be equals to context that you have this context there. So great, so we're passing the context as the context, and now we can go ahead and actually create and go into our templates, and in here I want to create another file called dashboard. So dash.html. Great. So instead of the dashboard.html, what you're going to do, you're going to do the following. First of all, you're going to inherit the existing template of layout.html, and in that template you're going to override it to include the graphs in there. So let's just go in here and override that dashboard, that template. Sorry, it is going to be here, and it'll be extends, and this can be /layout.html, just like that. So I'm going to extend that layout.html template, and I'm going to create a code block here. So I'm going to override that content within the code block. So it's going to be block content, so block content, and then you're going to make sure that we end that block content tag. So just going to go ahead and say end block, just like that. So now that we have that there, it's all that we have that there, and it's all done. So let me make sure, yeah, got the spelling right. So now you're going to create a div here. I'm going to create a div. I'm going to call it with a class of content section from our custom CSS class, and in here we're going to have another div with the following. So we're going to have row. So you're going to have a div with a class of row. Let's add other classes. You're going to have a mx-auto. You're going to have justify content center. Sorry, justify hyphen content center, just like that. So justify content center, and in here what you're going to do, you're going to create a simple Bootstrap card. So you're going to create a card called you're going to create a div with a class card. You're going to also make say margin, and the margin is going to be of 4. You're going to create you're going to give it a bit of styling here. I want to give it a bit of manual kind of CSS styling. So I'm going to say style, and the style is going to be width is going to be 90%. So let's say 90%. Okay, so great. So now that we have that set up, what we're going to do, we're going to now create a card body. So we're going to create a div, another div called card hyphen body, just like that. And in card body, you're going to create another div called you're going to create a div with an ID called the ID is going to be called chat1. Okay, chat1, just like that. So great. So now that we have this, let me just separate this card content from the main content. Let's like this, and then give it a bit of spacing here, since we're going to copy this and use it a couple of times. So now that we have that there, let's go ahead and actually create the CSS, the JavaScript to return the script. So I'm going to now put in a certain CDN here. So I'm going to create a script here, and the script source is going to be the following. So I'm going to copy this from my GitHub page and paste it here to avoid wasting of time. So this is going to be a plotly script. Okay, so I'm just going to go into my GitHub page and then copy that. Let me just type it out, and so that you guys can also follow along. So it's going to be https:// and it's going to be cdn.plotly. Plotly, in this case the spelling right, plotly it's actually plot and then .li, and then / is going to be plotly, and then hyphen it's a hyphen, and then we go into latest dash min dash js. So make sure I get that right. So hopefully I didn't make any errors. Okay, so it is https://cdn.plot.li/plotly hyphen latest min.js. So yeah, that's it. Then you're going to add another script tag here. You're going to call this script, and this is going to have it's going to be of type. We're going to give it a type. It's going to be text /JavaScript. Okay, just like that. And inside of this JavaScript tag, this we're going to write in the following code. So you're going to have a code. You're going to create a variable, and you're going to call it graph1, and this graph1 is going to be equal to the graph that you want to get. So this is going to be sales underscore graph. Okay, and then you're going to pass in the save parameter. So we're going to pass in a pipe symbol, and then you're going to pass in save, just like this. Yeah, So this is going to allow some security for our application. Okay, so make sure that you have that included. So we're going to now plot the graph. So we're going to say plotly dot plot, and we're going to pass in the graph that you want to plot. So the graph, I'm going to call it, just give it the div in which I want to plot it. So I'm going to give it this ID, which is the ID of the div in which I want to plot the chart. So I'm going to paste that in here, and then I'm going to pass in the charts that I want to plot, which is just going to be graph one, and then I'm going to pass in an empty function block here. So I'm just going to pass in here just an empty function blocks. So that's how we draw a certain graph. So you have created a variable called graph1, and you have just, which refers to the graph object that you have passed in from our view. So we have passed this from our view. In our context, we have just referred to this inside of our dash, and then you're simply passing the safety for security purposes, and then you have just plot the graph here, plotly dot plot, and then it's what the div in which you want to plot the graph, which is this div right here, which is this CRUD, and then you pass in the graph object, and then an empty function block. And then you can go ahead and actually save that. And this actually, I think, the objects right in JavaScript, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and actually start our server again, and don't worry about these errors, just ignore them for now. Let's start our server again, and then let's make sure everything is running. So Python 3 manage.py, and then run server. So let's run that and run our development server. So let's make sure this server starts up, and we can go back to our web application and then try to check it out. But before we do that, we haven't even actually referred to this view, right? We haven't referred to the view in our URL. So let's go to our URLs, and we're going to create a route here. So I'm going to create another route. So I'm going to call it path, and it's going to be simply dashboard / and then we're going to pass in let's import dashboard from views here. So let's go ahead and actually import dashboard from here. So it's going to be a dashboard, and then we can actually make this look a bit better. So let's bring this here, make this look better. See, and then I'm going to break this into multiple lines, okay, just to make code look much better. So fix that importation, and then yeah. So now that we have that done, we can go ahead and actually think to be here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so I can go ahead and actually save this. So I'm going to say dash, and I'm going to do I'm going to pass in that dashboard function. So dashboard, and then I'm going to give it a name, and the name is simply going to be dashboard, just like that. And then that's all we need to do. So that's all we need to do to refer to that URL. So let's check if our server is running. Yeah, it is. So let's go to our web application here, and then we go to / dashboard inventory, and then / here we can go to dashboard. Okay, so let's type in here dashboard, and then we can just search for that, and this should return to us a graph of the sales trend. Okay, so it's taking a bit of time. Let's check if our development server is running. Yeah, it is, but it's taking a bit of time. So we have an error here saying template doesn't exist. So let's check where we have made an error. So dashboard.html, let's check if that template, we have named it properly. So it's dashboard.html. so let me just go to views, and let's check if the name matches this one here. So is a dashboard inventory. So actually inventory, okay, I made a mistake here. So it's inventory, and then inventory, and the inventory we're referring to this template. Okay, so my bad. So let's check if the server is running. Yeah, it is running. So let's go back and refresh this. So it says that we have an error here. So it says looking for an end block, so it doesn't find the end block. Okay, let me just check the code if I included the end block tag here. So yeah, I included the end block here. So block content, yeah, I made a mistake here. So I actually, this is not curly braces, so I'm just make sure that it's curly braces. Okay, so my bad there, sorry for that error. So I hope, hopefully I don't have any more errors here, and this thing will work. So let me just go back and then try to refresh this. Yeah, and it works, but now the graph is not being displayed. So we can see the graph here. So let's check where the error is. It doesn't actually display any error. So let's go back to our code and see where maybe we have made an error somewhere. So plotly, now plotly here is capital P, not lowercase p. So plotly dot graph, and then yeah, that. So sorry for that error again. Yeah, so now you can see that graph is being displayed here, and this graph is totally you can zoom in, zoom out, and then you get all this functionality of the box without having to do anything. So you can see this is the sales trend as time goes on. So if you have many days in the main days of data, then the graph might look very different from mine. You can also download these graphs and also do other you can view, download, and do all other functionality with the graph, right? So let's continue back to our series, and let me show you how to draw the other graphs, and then we'll be done with this tutorial series. So let's come here, and then we'll also draw other graphs. Okay, now you can go ahead and actually learn pandas on your own, and you can draw any kind of graph that you really want. Is you can draw almost any kind of graph with plot, because Plotly is a very big library in Python. So you can go and read the official documentation, and you can draw almost any kind of graph that you really want. So let's just draw another graph. So let's just draw one more graph here, and this graph is going to be best underscore performing underscore product. So best performing product, let me just go df, and this is going to be df.group by, and you're going to group by following. What do you want to group by? So you want to group by, and then you're going to say what you want to group by. I want to group by the name of the product, and then I want to group by the name of the product, and then what I want to do, I also want to find, after I group by the name of the product, I want to find the sum of each product, and then I want to sort and sort values, and then I'm going to sort by, and then I'm going to sort by the following, and I'm going to sort by quantity underscore sold, just like that. I'm going to sort by the quantity sold, quantity of the product that has been sold, and then yeah, so I'm going to sort by the quantity of the product sold, and then I'm going to now go ahead and plot my graph. So I'm going to go best performance, okay, and then I'm going to this is going to be a px dot bar. I'm going to draw a bar graph, and the bar graph is going to be, the data is going to be the best performing product data frame. So it'll be best underscore performing data frame, and then I'm going to provide in the following. So I'm just going to break this into multiple lines, and then tab that in here. So tab that, then here. So in here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have the x-axis, and the x-axis is going to be best product, best performing product df, and just get that performing underscore product df. For some reason I keep typing the wrong key, product underscore df dot, and I'm going to get the index, and then the y-axis is going to be the best performing product again, best performing product df, and then I'm going to get the quantity underscore sold, just like that. And then I'm going to pass in the title, and the title is going to be I'm going to pass in the title here, and the title is going to be a string, and it's going to be best performing product, just like that. So I'm going to pass in best performing product here. So the span of product, right? So that's all we need to do, and now we can go ahead and actually convert this into a JSON and pass it to the backend. So I'm going to say best performing product, just like this, best performing product, and this is going to be JSON dot dump s, and then I'm going to pass in the best performing product graph that we just do. So it's going to be best performing product graph, and then we're going to pass in the class, and the class is going to be as the previous class. So it's going to be, let's just go ahead and actually copy this and paste it over there, and it will also be fine. So I'm going to go ahead, copy this, and then paste it. It's a bit lengthy to type out, so equals to, and then I'm going to paste that in there. So it's going to be plotly.utils plotly encoder, plotly JSON encoder. Watch out for the casing. Okay, so that's how we can do that. So I'm going to pass this in here. So I'm going to create a string here. So I'm going to create a string, pass this in, and then the value is going to be this, and I can go back to my dashboard, and in my dashboard I can simply do in here, copy this. You're going to have another div tag here, so copy this, copy this, and then paste it here, and then you can change the ID to be tag 2, to be chat 2, and then down here I'm just going to copy this and then change the values to be graph 2. So this is going to be graph 2, and this is going to be best underscore performing underscore product. And then also remember to change this to be graph2, so change that also to be 2. So now that's all we need to do. So make sure I'm getting the spelling right here. So I'm going to copy it from here, and then I'm going to go here and then make sure I paste it here. Yeah, so that's all we need to do. And then I'm going to make sure this is chat2, so make sure that this the ID here is chat2. Okay, so all these are this is chat2 and this is graph2, and then also this is graph2. Make sure you change that and also change the name here. So now that we have that, I can go ahead and save this, and also remember to change this to be 2. Okay, so let me check our development server is still running, so I can go here and then try to refresh this. And if I refresh this, I will see another graph at the bottom right down here. So let's just wait for that to load. Yeah, so now that that's loaded, you can see that graph also here. You can also zoom in and do all the stuff that you want. So yeah, you can go ahead and tell you can draw endless. I'm just showing you the very basics. You can draw many graphs, like you can draw a lot of graphs with Plotly. So the thing is, we just have to think of which graph you want to draw, learn about a bit about pandas, how to format your data, and then go ahead and actually draw. So let's do one more chart, and then we can end this series. So I'm going to I'm going to make the code available. So if you are interested in drawing all the chart that I drew when I showed you my project, you can go ahead and actually find out in my GitHub page. Okay, so even if you're interested, you can learn pandas. I have a whole series on pandas on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to create a variable called product, mouse product in stock, and I'm going to call this going to be df.groupby. Group by, and then you're going to group by, and then you're going to pass in a by, and then you're going to be going to group by the name of the product. You're going to, okay, I actually made an error right here. Okay, I actually made an error right here. What I mean is, actually I drew a different graph. Okay, this is the most product in stock rather. So make sure you change this to be most product in stock. So let me just change this to be most product in stock. I made a bit of error there, so I type in the wrong thing. I was looking on my other screen, but I type in the wrong thing. So let me just change this a bit, and this is going to be yeah, I made an error right there. I made an error, so I actually made an error right there. So no, it's actually fine. I didn't actually make an error. I think I'm just confusing myself. I didn't actually make an error. It's fine right there. So yeah, so for the most product in stock, you're going to group by the name of the product, and then we're going to now find the sum of each. So sum, and then you're going to now sort the value, sort underscore value, sort values, and then we're going to sort by. We're going to sort by this parameter. You're going to sort by the quantity underscore in underscore stock. Yeah, so now that we have that there, you can go ahead and actually do most underscore product in stock, and this is going to be a px. We're going to draw a pie chart here, a pie chart, and then I'm going to say most product in and most product underscore in underscore stock, most product in stock df. That's a data frame that you want to work with, and then let me just indent that over there, most product in stock. And what you're going to pass in, you're going to pass in the name of the product, names, and then the names is going to be most underscore product in stock df dot index, most product in stock index, and then you're going to go ahead and actually specify the values, and then the values are going to be most product in stock df dot quantity underscore in underscore stock. And this is just from our data frame, so you can refer to our data frame. That's where I'm getting these values from. Okay, so these values I'm getting it from my data frame, but index is something that comes with pandas, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so make sure that you don't forget the comma right there. The title, you can just say this part in a string here, and then say most product in stock, just like that. So we have that there, so don't forget the comma right here. So now that we have all that set up, we can go ahead and actually plot a graph and return that graph to the back end, follow to our templates to render it. So just going to copy this and then paste it in here. So I'm just hit the wrong key, so paste that in here. This is going to be JSON. We're going to dump it to a JSON dot dump s, and you're going to pass in the graph here. So we're going to pass in that that graph, and you're going to pass in the class, and the class is just what you just like this one. So I'm just going to copy this and then paste it right there. So copy this and then replace it here. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then I'm going to now copy this and then return, pass it to my copy this and then pass it in here as a string, and then pass it in here as the value. Okay, so now that we have done that, we can just go back to our dashboard and then copy this and paste it one more times, and then make sure that you change it to be 3. The ID should be 3, so change this to be 3, and then in here we just copy this again, and then we can paste it down here. So paste it here and change everything here to be 3. So this should be graph 3, this should be 3, and the ID, the chart should also be 3. Okay, we're referring to this ID right here. So now let's go ahead and actually change the graph as well. So I'm going to copy this, and then I can go into dash, and then I can paste it here. So paste it there and save. Make sure that you have the save symbols on all of them to make your application more secure. So now that we have that, we can check if our development server is running. Yeah, it is. So we can go back in here, and then we can simply hit refresh. So now that is loaded, you can see we have that graph right there, and we have a pie chart right there. So yeah, that makes sense, and it looks completely fine. You can download it, you can actually minimize. If you want to see some parts, you can minimize and display it and stuff like that. So I want us to change something. See this graph, there's something wrong with this graph. So let's actually go back the code. I think I made an error right there. So it's actually this right here. So let's try to compare this with my previous code. I think I made an error while typing this out. So we're going to group by the name, and then we're going to sum this, and then we're going to find sort values. We're going to sort the values on quantity sold, and then you're going to pass in this, and this. Then it's called the best performing product. Yeah, and then we pass it in here, and then we simply also pass it as a context, and then we pass into JSON, and then we return to backend. Okay, it looks completely fine. It's just a bit they have almost the same value, so that's why I'm a bit confused. So it has 20, this is 20, this is 20 as well. So let's check in the main dashboard if it's actually 20. Yeah, it's all 20. Yeah, that's why I got confused. So because all the let's change some of them to be let's update this and change the value to be another. Let's change, instead of 20, let's keep that we have sold I don't know, 40 or something, I don't know. So let's just update this so you can see the reflection also in the dashboard. So let me just go into my dashboard. So I'm going to go into dashboard and then view that. So I'm going to go dashboard, click, and in here guys, you can see now the change has been reflected, and still has more quantity sold, and the best performing product is sneakers, and there it is. So guys, thanks for watching this tutorial. This is the end of this tutorial. Now one thing you can do before leaving is include a link for our dashboard right in our link in our navigation bar. So we can go into our dashboard, into our layout.html file, and then copy one of these link tags and then paste it here. And then what you're going to do, simply pass in dashboard. So but dashboard is the name that we refer to it here. Okay, so that's the name that you're going to use in here in our layout.html. That's the name that you're going to use in here. So I just pasted that. Sorry, I just undo that. So dashboard here, and then you can say here, you can say dashboard, just like that. So let me just keep the dashboard above before the closing before the logout tag. So I'm going to save that and then go in here and then try to refresh this, and you can see our dashboard should have now appear. So if I click, it should now take me to dashboard. So I got the spelling of dashboard there wrong, so let me change that to be dashboard. Okay, dashboard. So delete that S and then put in there a D. So yeah, that should be done, and then I check it again, refresh this. yeah, the dashboard. So if I'm in the home page and I click on dashboard, it should take me to the dashboard page. And if I'm not logged in, because if you go into our views, we have the login required decorator. So if you don't have that decorator, you're not able to, if you're not logged in, you won't be able to access the dashboard. So guys, this is the end of the tutorial, and this is how you build a simple inventory management system using Django, Plotly, HTML, bit of JavaScript which you didn't actually write, and Python. So guys, thanks for watching, and if you log out, that will mark the end of this series. So thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial. I don't know what I'll be building next. Leave comments in the comment section below in case you have any suggestions and tutorials that you want me to make. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Keep safe.